Are we live?
I don't know.
Hello, check, check, 1, 2. Hello, test, test. Can everybody see us? Can everybody hear us? How's everybody doing? What are the topics of this podcast? Great question. Good timing. Great timing. There's no audio? Bullshit. You're full of shit. Fuck you, guilty. All right. Hello, everybody. We're just going to be hanging out in here for a few minutes, waiting for a couple people to trickle in, and then we're going to get started. If you had any questions while we're waiting, feel free to toss them at us.
Something we could talk about while we're waiting is, I think we had overall pretty good YouTube reception. We got 20 new subscribers on our brand new YouTube channel, as
20?
well as almost 200 views. So if you haven't done so already, make sure to sub to that.
Hold on, they tell me we don't have a camera. Are you guys bullshitting me? I feel like they're... Are you looking at it, Skoaned? Are we okay?
I'm looking at it. I see us, and I think I heard us. So
Fuck
I think
you
we're
guys.
good.
Fuck you guys. We are twins, okay? We come from the same mother. All right.
Oh, I need to host Malbec. Yeah, let me go do that real quick, I guess.
Wow. Kimmy's got my ass. Thank you, Kimmy. Okay, someone's looking out for me.
Auto host not cooperating. All right, there we go.
Just a heads up, if anybody plans to follow or subscribe, which I would be completely shocked by, we're not getting notifications today. We're going to keep it absolutely notification free for anybody who's going to be watching later on. We won't have any distractions. Need a Cheetur pic?
Good.
Yeah, we probably should put a picture up of Cheetur, but that's all right. He'll come in here pretty soon with his nice, syrupy voice, and he'll tell us all about what he thinks about things.
We could get the what's the pick he uses for everything? Thanos.
Thanos, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we could put a Thanos pick up. That would be pretty funny.
We could briefly, while we're waiting here, discuss the meme of the day, which is right above us.
Oh yes, right up here.
From MapleStory, the administrator let someone know that post-hacking, that if they just donate $5, they'll be un-IP banned. I thought that was pretty funny, so I put it there.
Do you think he actually got unbanned? Do you think he paid
He
it?
did. He
Really?
did get un-IP
Oh,
banned
no.
and has the donor tag and is now currently playing.
Oh no. Welcome to private servers, everybody. No problem can't be solved with money. Not on private servers.
Exactly.
I had a
Like
buddy
enough
one
money.
time. Dude, I had a buddy one time. He was freaking rolling in money, and he would just pay for everything. Like, he wanted items in game. He would just buy an item straight from the admin. Be like, hey, I need like 10 more white scrolls. Here's $100 or whatever, and they'd light him up.
Oh my
He
god.
would not hesitate.
I mean, money's money, man.
It's true.
You can solve almost anything with money.
If you're gonna be a sellout, at least be honest and not me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they were very transparent about it in Discord. They weren't trying to hide the fact that he got unbanned for $5. I just think it's funny.
Plus, it's a meme server, so they're doing it for the meme anyway.
Well, are they a meme server, Malbec? They are top 10 on GTop, the highest ranked
Ooh, true.
V83 right now.
We'll be talking about MapleMS, the meme server right here, as well as many other servers shortly. We're just waiting for a couple more people to come in, and then we'll get started.
Cannot solve depression. That's a tough one to solve, Arna. I think in Ariana Grande's newest song, she said red bottoms solved her depression. So maybe you could try some of those, some good heals.
I always preferred the white bottoms, those ones from Genesis, but that's just me.
Ooh, those will make you fast.
Maple reference. Oh shit. Oh, well, look at that. Azura Revenge is hosting us for 19 viewers. Thank you, Azura Revenge. Thank you so much.
Yo, thanks.
Anybody just coming in, we are just waiting a few minutes before we get started on the podcast. We have a great episode prepared for you guys today, and we're really excited. It's been heavily anticipated by Skoaned and I, and we're gonna be having some fun tonight.
Yeah, it should be a great time.
I have a white bottom too, Macytron. You want to see it? I don't know if it's TOS. I could show you guys. No, it's okay.
Feet pics?
Feet pics? No, I'm talking about white bottom.
Oh shit! How much are Malbec feet pics?
I mean, I could sneak you a feet right now if you guys really want to see one. I could slip you guys some foot action.
Yeah, I think the viewers deserve some foot action.
Oh, oh yeah. Who likes that? You guys like it?
Oh shit! I just saw it. Damn, bro. That's a sick foot.
How long does it take the OSM site to refresh? I'm guessing that's going to depend on your internet. Because you ain't showing on there already. Oh no, our tag's already gone. No. Oh, feels bad. We decided to host with the OSM tag today just for the meme to see how long it would last. I don't think it's lasted that long. Technically, we are hosting OSM content. We're talking about OSM, but
we are.
We'll see.
If we're not featured on the website, that's okay, I suppose. So do you want to get into it now? Are we ready? Do we think we have our complete and full audience attention?
I sure hope so. Malbec, they are waiting for you. Skoaned, shill Legends while you can. Oh no. Hey everybody, go play Maple Legends, the original. It's version 62 classic server. 2 times experience. It's the best. And Kimmy in the chat. She knows all about it if you had questions. Talk about servers and how they've ruined the game. Oh god. Zara, wait a sec. Are you working for Nexon?
Wait a minute. Is this a GMS streamer?
You know what? Let me get the, before we start, the Thanos picture. Because I want to put that up when Cheetur comes on. Later in the show, we're going to have Cheetur on. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about private servers. Can you show me your dick? Hey, send me a DM. We can work out a transaction. Thanos. You know what? I'm just going to go to his stream. How about that? And then take the one.
Just copy paste it right from there. The source.
Oh yeah, look at Thanos just cheesing.
What happens when Cheetur snaps his fingers?
One of us will find out.
Oh shit.
If I pay Malbec and Amazon gift cards, will I get... Oh my god, dude. What are you, Maple Clover?
Man, I miss Clover.
Really?
Best Amazon money I ever spent.
Oh, feels bad. They still owe me $20.
Damn, bro.
I've never forgiven them. Toenail. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on.
Damn, that's some kinky shit, Azura.
You know what I've been really enjoying lately?
What's that, Malbec?
This might be not that interesting to anybody watching, but we haven't started yet. I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yeah?
Do your worst, guys. Judge me. I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently.
Paper or, like, Duel Links?
No, nobody's on that paper shit anymore.
Damn, bro. It'd be like that.
Yeah, Duel Links. Duel Links is pretty fun. Malbec, if I donate money to you, you shall host me on the stream. Hey, you know what? We'll have to host somebody at the end of it.
The S does stand for scammers. That's correct. Old Scammers MapleStory. Or wait, no. Yeah, Old Scammers MapleStory.
Save image. Thanos. Ay.
All right, are we got it? Are we ready to roll?
I think we are ready to rock. Yeah, we good. We good. Hey, there he is. Cheetah's up in the house. Oh. We'll put that right there for now, and then when Cheetur comes in, pop that back.
Nice.
All right, I have to sneeze. Oh my god.
All right, get your sneeze out of the way now. Force it.
Oh my god, I'm like right on the tip of a sneeze, guys. Okay, I think it's gone. All right, ready to get started, everybody? Ready to get started? Who's ready for PodcastMS, guys? Let's get started. All right, just like last time, we're gonna do our best to focus on our topics. If we see anything from the chat that pops out and is relevant, we will talk to you guys. But At the end of the show, pretty much we will be fielding questions from the chat, and we'll give you guys a little bit more attention then. So don't feel like we're ignoring you. We just want to make sure we're hitting all of our points. All right, so ready to go, Skoaned?
I'm ready.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of PodcastMS, an internet weeb show hosted by two grown men about a 15-year-old children's video game called MapleStory. I'm your host, Malbec, joined by your other host, Skoaned. Today's podcast will be brought to you by our sponsors, Mr. Pick All for all your lockpicking needs, and EpicNPC.com for all your private server real-world trade transactions. As we get started, Skoaned, what would you like to do right off the top?
I think we should discuss who our guest is going to be. As we've already mentioned before, it is going to be Cheetur. He is a content creator for Twitch.television. He streamed OSM exclusively and for a while, at least. And he was top 10 the entire time, played Expo. And he was the most viewed streamer there for a while before he quit OSM. And he will be joining us later in the show.
I'm thinking that because maybe perhaps he quit OSM, that he might have an interesting perspective, because he's gone from OSM now to where he's at, which is Crusade. And there's a big difference between those servers, and I'm really interested to see what he has to say about not only the content on the server itself, but maybe how the servers are run.
Something I think we should also cover is, I know I told many of you that we were going to have OSM staff on the podcast. Unfortunately, they did pull out about 4.5 days before the podcast, even though we were kind of planning it for about 3 weeks. And this was a situation where I said it would be nice to have them on the podcast. And two separate staff members approached me saying that they wanted to be on the podcast. So it's really, really unfortunate that they decided to not be on the podcast.
Yeah, that is a little unfortunate. In the meantime, we're gonna stand firm with a few of the things that we wanted to talk about anyway, and we'll get into that pretty soon. What did you want to mention about our YouTube channel that we had last week, that we had for our last podcast?
We got a lot of really good feedback for people who also weren't able to tune into the live stream that caught the YouTube video. We got 20 new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed there already, make sure to do so. We didn't receive any questions in the comments section this time, so we won't be fielding or answering any of those. But I think it went over well.
One of the subscribers from YouTube is actually somebody that I met on Omegle. Just a quick mention of Jazz. Quick shout out to Jazz if you're watching. Yeah, I think the YouTube channel has been a success so far. 20 people hopping in there, having a good time, rewatching. I know not everybody can watch the videos live, and definitely not a lot of people come in and they watch the VODs on Twitch. VODs on Twitch are a lot less popular than YouTube videos. They are definitely going to be available for you for as long as Twitch allows them to stay up on our Twitch pages. We're not partners on Twitch, we're just affiliated, so they last something like 60 days before they expire, which is why you can always find them over on the YouTube channel.
Alrighty.
So on the topic of MapleStory private servers, because that's what this show is all about. Today we'd like to discuss OSM, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But we do have a lot of news. A lot of stuff's been popping off in the private server community. What's the latest, Scones?
Well, I wanted to do this segment as more of a regular thing on our normal episodes. We didn't field it in the first episode because that was more of a introductory or background episode. However, this will become something more or less regular where we update you with what's going on in the private server scene. And if you see any news or notice any large developments or anything interesting that's happening and we're missing it on the podcast, or before a podcast you think that some sort of topic should be covered, make sure to contact us and let us know. As for things that we currently have in terms of things that are like not new servers, but sort of updates on existing servers, Maple Legends came out with Crimson Wood Keep PQ recently. I tried it on MapleMS and it was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun doing Crimson Wood Keep. I'm sure a lot of their players are excited to be able to play that content on Maple Legends. What do you think?
I think there goes Skoaned again, shilling for Maple Legends, guys. Am I right? No, I'm kidding. Crimsonwood Keep is not an easy thing to implement into a private server. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's a big accomplishment for that to be put in. It's actually one of the more fun PQs, I think, and a good addition to Maple Legends. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. I'll go.
Which wins, by the way, if anyone's wondering.
It appears that Orchid has decided to wipe and rebrand as Maple Twist. They said that the original administrator was inactive and they wanted to take the project in a new direction under a new name. It kind of sounds a lot like Slime Tales, like season 12 or whatever it's on. Possibly the same people, but Discord accounts created regularly and there's no way to control who is who. So that'll be coming out, I assume, in the near future, under presumably a new administration.
Presumably,
like always.
You know what? I wanted to touch on real quick. You say Orchid's rebranding into Maple Twist. That's not unexpected. But you mentioned seasons on private servers. What are your thoughts on having seasons on private servers? Because as I'm aware, there's really only one that actually calls them seasons. And that's Slime Tales, and they've done several of them. And basically what that is they wipe the server and they restart. I
don't think they call it that. I don't think they like it when you refer to it as that.
No, it's their own words. I'm pretty sure they call themselves
I don't
seasons.
think so.
All right.
I don't think they ever said that. I think it's one of those memes where it's so widely talked about and spread where it's just become fact.
Oh my gosh. Well, shout out to Suho. We love what you're doing, buddy. Keep getting those money grabs going, and I'm sure you'll keep getting those Singaporeans in. Get you a little pocket cash for the side. And you, by the way, I'm still wondering who won that Lunar Story video contest. If you ever want to let me know, I'd love to find out.
In other news,
we have some big news from ZocMMS.
It's still down. We received an everyone ping today from ZocMMS saying that the server is up. But it appears no one is playing it. I did a quick ask in chat to see if it was actually up, and it appears it is not.
Why do you think the server's been down for so long? What do you think the issue is?
I've heard mixed things. I heard that it was down because of a rampant duping issue.
Okay. And
there was a bounty put for the identification and fix for this dupe for, I believe, $5,000. And something to the effect of, in the announcements, it said that they're migrating hosts, but there hasn't really been any kind of update on that as far as that's concerned. Normally, ZocMMS and the previous iterations of it have lasted a little longer than this. This one didn't last very long before it got, turned off. And it seems that there's not a whole lot of info.
You're telling me that an RM0 server has just gone down and it's been down for a little while, and there's no foreseeable release date for a new one, and on top of that, you said 5,000 bounty, 5K,
$5,000
mesos. Dollars.
No, not mesos.
You're talking about real
life
world
dollars.
$5,000 if somebody finds the bug that is giving them problems.
Yep.
Whoa, that's some serious cash, guys. I think that maybe somebody, if it was me, if I was some elite hacker or something like that, I'd go onto a server like that and I'd find whatever bug that it took to bring the server down like it did. And then when they put that ransom money up, that bounty money up, I'd come and collect real quick. And then you know what? As I patched their bug for them, I'd put in another one and I get another $5,000. Easy money, guys. Let's make it every other week. Just $5,000, $5,000. I don't know where these private servers are getting this money from, guys. What do you think? Where do you think all this money's coming from?
Well, I think it is. I think the server's slightly paid to advance, maybe. I haven't played it exclusively, but I think the $5,000 bounty is a pretty clear indicator that 5,000 isn't exactly a whole lot to them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're probably rolling in some cash. If they're willing to put up $5,000 bounty on fixing one of their bugs, I think that is a shit ton of money.
Hell yeah.
What's next in our news lineup today?
We've got some V202 servers that are popping up to sort of give Ares a little bit of competition, it seems.
Okay.
We've got Ariel, which I think is a KMS version that roughly equates to V202.
Okay.
And then Wallow MS, or Wallow. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Walao.
Wallow.
Shout out to any Singaporeans watching. Walao, eh?
And then there was Maple Lumiere, which said that it's going to be closing its Discord to newcomers. So I don't really know what's going on there.
Sounds like they might be trying
pretty
to go
strange
underground.
move to me. Yeah. So I didn't really do a whole lot of background research on them as far as, what's going on there. Lumiere, sorry, Sword Strike. So Ariel just seems to be mostly default V202. Nothing too spicy going on as far as that's concerned. There's no clear release date. I'm pretty sure they're in closed alpha currently. And then we have, could you possibly pronounce that for me, Malbec?
Which one are we looking at?
The W one.
Walao.
Thank you. Will be a 5x, 2x, 1x server that has extra worlds, which I thought was actually really neat. Are they downgrading? That's possible, Humpsy. I haven't heard of that.
Downgrading? What the heck? Extra worlds. So what are the implications of putting in a few extra worlds?
I'll let you know, Malbec. They're going to, 30 days post-launch, they're claiming that they're going to add extra worlds where you can complete tasks that tie back into the main world. They're going to have a burning world, which is going to have a 1,250 times EXP rebirth world, where you can collect coins that will include boosted stat medals and other neat equips to put on your main character on the main world. And then a challenge world where you're weaker and all the mobs are super buff, and you're trying to hit a certain level within a certain amount of time, and that helps you unlock Legion blocks in the main world. And then a reboot world, which is 10 times EXP but doesn't quite scale like GMS, and it rewards you with the Pink Bean class and removes the level 1 link skill limit in the main world.
So
and
for
I think
one server to have 3 worlds, I've seen this
crazy.
attempted before, and it has been pretty much a failure every time. Because what sort of player base is Wallow MS? Do you know how many players they're normally averaging right now?
Oh, well, they're not currently out right now. They're currently in development, I believe, and they're doing some sort of closed alpha or closed beta.
Sounds like a lost cause to me. Suddenly showing up with 3 worlds. Hey guys, take your pick. We expect to have a really thriving population on all 3 of them. Maybe they're doing like a shotgun method, like maybe one of them's going to take off. But honestly, all 3 of them at the same time, I feel like they're really aiming high on that one.
I mean, it does tie into the main world, right? The extra worlds are sort of just kind of like tasks to complete. Mm-hmm. And like Arna said, their Discord really is popping off. They passed MapleMS on GTOP already without even being live. It really does seem like the extra worlds are just going to be kind of like a task to complete for the main world, and then everyone's going to kind of play the main world mostly.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wish them the best of luck. I don't know if I'll be playing that server. I'm not too into the post-Big Bang stuff, but, I'm just a newscaster. What do I know? I can't give a biased opinion on something like that. What other servers do we have in the pipeline?
We've got Will, which is KMS 2 version 284 or GMS V190.
Hold on, the server's
currently
called
in
what now?
closed alpha. I think it's called Will.
Will, like the name Will, like
Yeah.
William?
I'm assuming so.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of info on that one. I think they said they were scheduled to release later this year, in about like April or something like that. And then we've got Elation, which seems to have taken the OSM idea of degressive EXP to the next level. We've got 1 to 20 is 7 times experience, 5 times drop. 20 to 80 is 5 times EXP, 4 times drop. 80 to 140 is 3 times EXP, 3 times drop. And 140 to 180 is 3 times EXP, 2 times drop. And then 180 plus is all rates are 2x, subject to change once 200 plus is added.
Okay. So something to note on that
interesting.
experience rate. is that it's a degressive EXP rate, right?
That
So
is correct.
the earlier in the game, you say from 1 to 20, you start out with 7 times experience, and then by the end of the game, you're getting to 140 to 180. You're at 3 times.
Yep.
So strike me if I'm wrong here. As the game progresses, and the earlier parts of the game, these are what you would maybe call the most relatively easy parts, where the scale of experience goes up, right? So by doing a degressive EXP, you're really just turning the EXP tables on its head. You're making the easiest part of the game even easier, and you're making the hardest part of the game even harder. What do you think is the reasoning behind a server wanting to do something like that?
I think I do have an more constructed explanation for why OSM specifically did it. Outside of OSM, I really do have no idea, personally, because the part of MapleStory that I find interesting is the movement itself.
Yeah.
Where you're moving from one training spot to the next training spot, and then forcing the character to move either around the map or to different training spots, training on different stuff, different drops. Sort of provides variety in gameplay that really old games don't really have. What you're kind of doing is taking that and making it more static.
Okay.
Where you fly through the early parts, and then you immediately feel the slow, where it really starts feeling like a grind, even if the EXP isn't that low. Like, obviously this isn't a 1x server. You're still flying at like 2x times experience. It really isn't that hard to grind on.
Yeah.
But the feeling of how slow it's starting to get is definitely going to be upon them. Something I just actually thought of, sorry to interrupt you, is the increased drop rate in between certain levels could possibly, without testing this or anything like that, could create a scenario kind of like in GMS currently, where playing a lower level account may be the best way of accruing mesos, because the drop rate as well as the EXP rate goes down. So drop rate is the closest relation to how much mesos you're getting, because when an item drops, you get a bunch of mesos. So
if you're 1 to 20 and you've got a 5 times drop rate, you're going to be getting a lot more mesos from drops than you are from level 140 to 180 at a 2 times drop rate. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm thinking. I think there's going to be one
I think it
map.
might be different, because the items that you get when you're killing a monster at level 150, say for example, you're killing Skelegons, they're going to be dropping items that are worth far, far more than anything that you could get at level 20 or less, say wild boars or something like that. I think it's going to either even itself out, or it's still going to be better to be training at the higher level spots.
I think there's going to be one map in particular that's just going to be busted. Right, where it's that sweet spot where it drops one equip fairly regularly that is high NPC cost, and it's going to be in one of the level ranges. I don't know which, and it's just you're just going to get fat cash, and people are going to realize it. Yeah, if this server does take off, and they're just going to make whatever account or whatever character farms that place the best, and they're just going to suicide their character to stay at 139 or whatever it is, and rake in mesas that way. And I think that's really unhealthy gameplay.
Same.
Gobies, probably Gobies or something like that.
We are talking about Elation MS, by the way. That's a V6. Sorry, V83. That's the one that we're currently talking about. But to touch again on the EXP tables for degressive EXP, I feel like this is something that I really want to touch on a lot, because it's a trend that is obviously showing up again now on Elation MS, and is definitely popular over on OSM over here. That you're making the easiest part of the game easier, and you're making the hardest part of the game harder, which I can't find any feasible reason why that would be a good idea. There's 2 downsides to this. I mean, the beginning part of the game is going to be easy no matter what. Even if it's 1 times, even if it's 2 times, say something on Legends, you're going to just soar through that. It's only going to take a week or 2 to get through that stuff. And then you're pretty much hitting a wall. You're hitting the grind. And once you hit that grind, everybody's going to be funneled into one spot, because everybody's slowing down their experience, and all the people are going to be the same level, around the same high level, right? This is currently happening on OSM, where all of the high levels are just hitting that same wall, and they don't really know what to do. except for just keep grinding and grinding and grinding. I think that's not necessarily going to change. OSM might not be a great example because they have a lot less content than something like a V83. And they're not going to have much endgame content regardless of what the experience rates are. But if, say, it was a V83 and everybody's gotten to that wall of EXP that everybody's just really slowed down, they all have to share maps. Everybody's going to get to that point of the game really fast. And there's going to be a lot of high-level people because they blew through the beginning of the game really quick, and they're all going to be sharing these maps. You better hope there's enough channels because on OSM you might run into a problem.
I think the one sort of saving grace is that by flying through those early levels, you will be able to boss a whole lot quicker, and that's content people enjoy. V83 bossing is okay, I guess.
Well, compared to OSM, it's spectacular. I mean,
yeah, there's a whole lot more bosses.
What do you have on OSM to boss? Mushmom?
Mushmom. We've got a
Balrog?
Junior Balrog, Crimson Balrogs.
And that's the end of the list.
Yeah. So, those players will be able to boss sooner, and maybe that's all they're looking for is some casual bossing. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Sure.
This one's spicy. We have a Sleep a Mess, which is what seems to be... I forgot to cover one thing for Elation. Extra HP and MP will be from area bosses, like your Mushmom, your female boss, stuff like that.
So however, we get permanent HP increase and MP increase?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you must be within the level range of that area boss for the drop. So if you outlevel Mushmom, for example, you can't go back to Mushmom and get that extra HP and MP.
Right.
Seems a little bit ridiculous, and I don't think that's going to work out that well.
Yeah.
But, we'll have to see.
This is what covering meme servers is all about. By the way, if anybody's just coming in here, the topic of this episode is OSM. We're getting things started with just a little bit of a update on all the latest news that's been happening in the private server scene. We've covered about 5 or 6 of servers so far. If you're wondering, we'll be getting to OSM here at the end of our news segment for all of the other servers that have some things to talk about.
Yep. There have been some questions in chat about Sortie. Sortie currently does not really have any kind of ETA at all, or any ETA on any kind of beta or anything of the like. Once there's some sort of announcement or progress point made, it'll probably be covered in a segment like this. But until then, I don't really see a point. It is cool that it's open source, and that will provide people with more opportunities of making servers and slapping, features that don't quite make sense onto them, and that will always be fun to cover.
I love when meme servers come out with just these horrible ideas, and they're these kids that are just putting up these servers, and they're like, this is going to be the next big thing. This is going to be the next Royals. I'm going to be Kimmy, and the world is going to be mine, and everybody's going to love me. And I'm going to make a server that has degressive EXP, and I'm going to make bosses drop HP and stuff like that. I love when these servers come out because it's, I don't know, it's always something funny to talk about. And I love to see them fail.
Jesus Christ, Malbec. All right, so...
They come and they go. They're like... the leaves in the wind. Oh, look at that one. Oh, it's floating by. Oh, a linear mess. Oh, a sleep a mess. Oh, there they go.
So next we've got a Sleep a Mess, which appears to be vanilla V83 at 12x2x2x for those mid-rate fiends. We've got some minor balance changes to the classes that suck. They received some number buffs, and then I think the only class that really got nerfed was Iran, possibly. But why this server is interesting is it seems to be ran by the administrator of OSM.
Ooh, the administrator of OSM is doing what now? Say that one more time.
He is splitting off in his own direction and running a Sleep a Mess.
You're telling me he's vacating from the other staff members on OSM? You think maybe they're not easy to work with? You think what do you think the problem might be? That he wants to split off and run his own server. Usually people don't normally do things like that. Just split away and do their own thing. Maybe like wanting to do a talk show and then be like splitting away and wanting to do their own. You think these things are common?
Yeah, that would be super crazy if someone were to want to be on the podcast and then make their own talk show instead. Would be really weird. But that was a question I more or less wanted to field to our guests that were unable to make it. As to sort of the reasoning behind why a sleeping mess would be created and sort of how it affects OSM, which we'll get into later. But yeah, it seems to be ran by Purple, and he's a pretty nice guy. He doesn't seem to be... he didn't take any OSM staff with him or anything like that. Seems to be more or less a solo project for now, and he's posting updates in the Discord. And we'll see how that one pans out.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed, guys. Purple MS. It's coming.
No, it's a Sleep MS. The other one was Purple MS.
Okay, so Purple MS version 3. A Sleep MS. It'll be good, guys. It'll be good.
It'll be sweet.
That's going to be a V83, right? With 12 times
it's going to be V83, and I was promised some sort of chimney rebalance. That was something I was like, look, man, V83 sucks, and it sucks because of chimney. Fix it. And he was like, you know what? I got you. Also, unlike a lot of other V83 private servers that come out, he has announced that there will be no item leveling.
Right.
Item leveling, I'll go over very quickly.
You're not talking about scrolling, are you?
No. This is a different feature where your items level up with your character.
Okay.
And it appears that, like, basically how you do it is you have to scroll your equips before you level them, which creates this scenario where leveling is RNG, and if you have a godly equip and you scroll it really well and then you level it and it ends up being shit, you're just really out of luck and it feels really bad.
Yeah.
So the V83 servers that have this mechanic usually are not worth playing, and unfortunately it is a wide majority of them.
Yeah, I personally am very against item leveling. I think that's very broken and not something that needs to be implemented into MapleStory. Just straight up, I think it's a bad idea from the beginning. Call me old school. I like versions 55, 62, 83, traditional sort of MapleStory games where if you wanted to make your character better, you either need to level up, you need to get better gear, you need to scroll your items. I think those are the best ways to run a server. And by putting in these extra features like item leveling in the background, I think they take away from the game more than they bring in. One thing that I want to say about a Sleep MS and Purple's new server, and hello to Purple if he's watching, I like to compliment him because I've had a few discussions with Purple in the past where he's been, like you said, very accepting of certain ideas that the community brings to him. And I truly believe that he's one of the private server owners that likes to field feedback from the people that play the server and really implement what the players of the server actually want. There's a lot of private servers who I feel, I would say the vast majority of them, where the administrators are kind of just running things like it's their toy. And, you know, this is going to be a great thing, I'm going to put this in. Oh, this is going to be a great idea that I have, I'm going to put this in, without really consulting the community. And I'm sure anybody that's played private servers before has felt this effect, where administrators just, Crusade maybe, for example, just shoves in all of these things that nobody really wants. They're taking the game in a different direction that nobody's really agreed upon. And what I personally believe to be the best way to run a private server is to have content that is community approved or pending community response. Field what the community thinks, make a forum post about it. Anything that's going to be implemented into the game, let the community know. Have it be discussed, vigorously discussed on the forums, and come to a conclusion that everybody can either agree with, or if some people don't agree with because they're just stupid and they think that, you know, Kana should be introduced to version 62, or they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, then dismiss those people and have the best possible input that you could.
You mean Nico class shouldn't be created?
Probably not. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Purple because he's one of the few private server owners that I do think listens to the community a little bit more.
I don't have any hard feelings for Purple either. I think it was more of a situation where he wasn't very interested in OSM. He just kind of like got roped into it. It's like, hey, Purple, you're from EU. We need EU people to run the server, you know, to hide from Nexon or whatever. And he's like, you know what? Sure, guys, I'll do that for you.
Is that how that works?
I'm not a Nexon lawyer. You know, I'm sure Nexon lawyers are very afraid of Europe. Plane tickets there are expensive. You have to cross this massive ocean.
Yeah. What's it called? Atlanta, something like that, yeah.
Atlantic.
Yeah, that's the one. The Atlantic Ocean. It's all the way across the pond, guys. They can't touch him.
I think they all came down with, you know, some people just don't like flying in planes.
Could
They
be
just
it.
have this fear of doing it, and
Maybe they've been in a
yeah,
plane
that's
crash before. They have some thoughts about, they have some
yeah,
PTSD. I don't know.
they don't do it. Okay, moving on.
on.
We have another V83 server, our MS, which has actual progressive experience, where you start at 3x and go to 6x.
So this is truly progressive experience. This is not
It is.
degressive. As the
That
gameplay
is
gets
correct.
harder, the EXP increases to make the game easier.
Correct.
All right.
Unfortunately, they've done some no-nos. They have item leveling, but instead of the default level 7, they have decided to increase it to 16, which essentially is item leveling on steroids and makes the mechanic even worse.
Okay. Well, they had a good feature, but then they slapped it right fucking down with a bad feature. Shame on
Yeah.
you, oh. Shame on you. What is it called? Our MS. Our MS. What do you have? Like 5 votes on GTOP?
I mean-
Just quit. Just give up.
Jesus, dude. I mean, they did do the progressive thing, right? But yeah, they don't really have any answers for Leech or anything like that. They have EXP cards, which are just kind of like it feels bad because you enter this feeling like I should only train with 2x, or training with 2x feels much better than training with, actually, sorry, not 2x. These are 3x EXP cards. So training off of them feels even worse than normal. And that's not really a great feeling for players.
Right.
They do have easier methods of obtaining skill books, which, depending on who you are, some people like farming them, some people don't like farming them. I personally enjoy purchasing my skill books. Farming them isn't for me.
Dude, I'm a pleb. I'm such a casual. When I get to 4th job, I just want all the skills in there already. I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
You know, it worked fine for 1st job. It worked fine for 2nd job and 3rd job. Just give me my damn skills. I don't want to go questing. I don't want to.
I'm the same way. Yeah, and the quest tied to some of them are just like doing those is just a giant pain in the ass.
Right.
And then they have global dropping clean slate scrolls.
Global drop for clean slate. Okay. How do you like clean slate scrolls? I can honestly say that I've never used them in any meaningful way.
You know, this will be, if I am to play this server, this will be a first for me of using multiple clean slate scrolls on a server.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only used like one per server at most,
Okay.
generally. So they haven't had a giant effect on me, mainly because I never passed them. So I've
Okay.
never had the feeling of getting a clean slate.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how that would work out.
Honestly, I don't know if I've ever landed a clean slate. I know that I've boomed some items with like a 1% or whatever they're called, the 2% ones.
Yeah. So on the next server, which we have a lot of V83 servers, it seems like a lot of people are fighting over this spot that MapleMS has in the top 10 as the top V83 server.
You know
We
what?
have
If
Fantasy.
MapleMS is your competition, I mean, I could see why there's some people that are out there trying to claim that top V83 spot.
I can see it as well. MapleMS definitely has its host of issues, and I can see how people are like, well, I could do that better, and that's sort of the spiraling void that people are trying to fill right now. Is
I don't want
a
to cut you off
solid.
there. I just want
Sure.
to address somebody in the chat. We have
Okay.
a Mrs. Kimber Shy. It's for the meme. We're keeping the OSM tag for the meme.
Okay. Yeah, they seem to have not wanted to feature us on the website, even though we're mainly going to be talking about OSM today.
I think
which
I might have been
is
blacklisted before
unfortunate.
we even went live today. I wanted to see how
Oh.
long it took, but it wasn't up there at all.
Damn, they nipped us right in the bud. That was
Feels
really
bad.
unfortunate.
Feels bad.
Yikes. All right. So the next one we have Fantasy, which is a V83 server. Again, mid-rate 18.63. And one of their notes confused me a little bit, and I probably should have asked about it. But one of their features said they changed bonus party experience from 2x to 50x.
Whoa.
I'm not...
That's a big change. 2 times to 50 times
That's pretty
for
large.
bonus party
It's pretty
experience?
large. And
Wow. Okay.
you know, it kind of reminds me of what Cradia is always talking about, and he's always like, "Man, I really want party experience buffed. I really want party experience buffed."
Right.
And you know, that's quite the buff, Malbec.
Yeah, from 2 to... I mean, it's an 18 times server, so take that for what it is. I see you written here on our notes. We've got some notes for the stream. It says ran by idiot admin.
I will cover that right now.
Okay.
The admin of this server I have found to be advertising either via DMs or via general chat and other private server discords for his own project. And that's a big yikes from me. I don't think those servers ran by those people are often very successful at all.
Yeah.
It just kind of proves incompetence.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, I don't feel like there's too much need to talk more about Fantasy MS if we know it's going to die in 10 days anyway. So,
children in chat who are arguing, calm down, please. Trying to be friendly Maplers here.
Are we having some issues, guys?
Do we need to intervene? Purple donated you $10. Damn, 10 in the bank. Congrats, Kainet. All right, on to the content. We only have 2 more servers to cover, so sorry if we're boring you with this section. I know you guys want to get to the real meat. We've got Maple Fables, which is a V90. It's going to have the dual blade, the Evan. It's going to be 432, and the beta is supposed to be live, I think, this Friday or Saturday. So if you're looking for some sort of server to ranking race on, this one might be for you since it's launching relatively soon.
That's a 4 times pre-Big Bang, right? So those are usually pretty good for people that like to race.
And then we have Subtle Maple Traits, which is KMS version 65. Appears to be running off of Slimetail source like the other one. Mm-hmm. It did launch on February 1st, but then shut down it only lasted a weekend. Shut down on the 3rd due to host issues. It appears they were using Google's hosting services. Mm-hmm. That didn't seem to be very good for private servers. It didn't seem to really work out for them. They have decided that they are going to wipe. I got wipe and relaunch added together. So they're going to relaunch on the 15th. They're going to have daily GM events like Tag and Bomberman. That's things you guys are interested in. They're not going to have any wash, and they have various skill changes you can read up on. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be using Google Host for any of my future projects.
Well, I mean, Google Host, there's a reason people don't talk about that too much. It's probably not your best option for at least private servers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that pretty much wraps up the private server news. I do want to wrap things up, though, as far as the news with just a blanket statement. We covered probably about, almost a dozen private servers. And
we did. This segment will be a lot shorter.
Right. Of those dozen, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that maybe one is going to be somewhat successful. Would you say that would be a good estimate? And not a specific one, just like in general, the vast majority of private servers just fail, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Out of the ones listed, I can see like 1 or 2 having either good or moderate success.
Right. What I'd like to say is a PSA to anybody out there. This is a private server podcast, and a lot of us that are in here have played private servers for a long time. I'm in it over a decade at this point. I want to say this PSA to anybody who's new to the scene and think to yourself, wow, look at these private servers. I wish, I could make one for myself. And I want to be the next Royals, guys. I want to do something spectacular, and I'm gonna just be the best and put up my own private server. Here's what I'd like to say to somebody like you guys. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it unless you know exactly what you're doing. You need to have a team of people. You actually have to have competent developers. You need to have people that are interested from the get-go. Even if you do have a team of people that are going to be helping you out for the whole thing, if you don't have a community that you've fostered, at least from the past, that you can gather up, it's just not going to work out for you. You can start small and build up, but it's 9 times out of 10 or more, it's just not going to work out for you. You might get a couple, donors that come in and they don't know too much about private servers. They're thinking like, oh, maybe I should just give some money to this guy, get some NX. Maybe you'll make a quick buck. Maybe that's what you're looking for. If it is, I guess, that's the reason why we have some content to talk about here on the stream, because there's a lot of meme servers like that. But for the most part, if you're looking to have a successful private server for yourself, give up. You're not going to do it. Don't do it.
I
You're gonna
think the
suck. You're gonna
important part-
fail. Everybody's gonna hate your server. You're gonna, in turn, everybody's gonna turn around and hate you. You're gonna get a lot of backlash for it, unless you have, like I say, a team of competent individuals that have experience in the space. It's not gonna work out for you. These things have been around for such a long time. You're up against very steep competition. Kimby Shy right now, who's in the chat, you know, as much as we make fun of her and, you know, we dick around, she seems to actually know what she's doing. And, you know, you're up against a stable server that's been up for 3, 4, 5 years now. You're not going to compete against something like that unless you really know what you're doing. So please just don't even try, guys. 50 times party experience. Are you kidding me?
I'm going to be the optimist here and say at least come in with a good idea. Like, come out with something revolutionary where something that sort of you can offer that other servers don't offer well. I think that's like the key thing is if you can find like a hole where there's some sort of demand that you can fill, even if your server isn't the greatest, as long as you sort of fill that need or niche.
Yeah.
You know, you could possibly succeed.
What are the niches right now? I could list them on one hand, and they're all taken. You've got your low rates, right? Your low rate classic server, your V62s. That's, you know, your Royals and your Legends right there. Those are the top dogs, at least at the moment. Then you've got your RM0 servers, the ones that are relatively updated with you know, current GMS. Those ones, you've got some big players, you know, people with $5,000 to throw around to fix bugs. Like, good fucking luck. All right. What's your other one? Is there another one that competes against those? High rates, right? High rates don't even exist. People don't even play them. We haven't even mentioned them on the podcast, right? High rates.
I don't think we're ever going to mention them.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen, guys. High rates have been dead for a long, long time. What's left? Okay, we've got the niche throwback servers, like the version 1s. Who's the top dog in that one? Okay, we've got OSM right now. OSM and Phoenix and not beta. And I mean, that's not, you're not even going to find success if you look in that space.
You got to think
anyway.
outside of the box, man.
It's not even thinking outside of the box. There's no box to look outside of. You've only got a few options, and they're all taken. So unless you see somebody that has a failing, dying server, and you want to swoop in on their community and you know, just try and replicate something that somebody else has already done, I mean, there's really no room for that much creativity right now, or has there ever been?
What about a good custom server? Do you have any brief opinions about those?
Custom server, like Sword Art Online, Maple Art Online, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, they never last. You know, they don't stay up. Nobody really plays them. I mean, when you go on them, it'll last for maybe a week or so before you run out of that custom content, and everybody ends up vacating and moving to somewhere else.
Oof. All right. So,
I mean, it's going to be a lot more trouble than it's worth. Plus, if you're somebody that has the ability to custom code a server that's just that in depth like that, your skills are better used elsewhere. I think that putting up a private server that's highly customized that most people aren't going to play because it's already a super niche game. Well, first of all, it's already a dying children's video game from 2003. Then it's a private server, right? You know, it's something that a lot of people don't even know exists. It's a niche version of a private server, and it's highly customized, which most people in the private server community don't even appreciate to begin with. So I would say probably don't put up a custom private server.
Dang, you're negative Nancy today.
I don't know. I'm giving you guys hot takes. I'm frustrated right now by a lot of different things. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. But I think that covers the news.
That does cover the news. Let's see if we can go track down Cheetur and get him in here. Do you want to try recalling this call and the other call?
Yeah. Let's see if Cheetur wants to hop in here or not.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, guys, this we anticipate this podcast to be significantly longer than the last one. We are almost already up on the amount of time that we spent for the last podcast, but we're just getting started here.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, we're back in action. We are currently calling Cheetur. Hopefully he picks up.
Waiting for our guests.
Maybe stop by the stream. Send him a message. Get him in here. Let's see.
So to quickly cover who we're bringing in right now, we have a a guest that's going to be coming in who was one of the top players on OSM, OldSchoolMaple, which is the topic of the day. And this player achieved third job. Well, not third job because third job's not out. But he passed level 70, and he was pretty dedicated to the server and put in a lot of time and worked himself to become the top streamer on the server. A lot of people followed him. A lot of people have enjoyed his content. He plays a lot. I think he's on a 40-hour grind right now. He has recently vacated from OSM and moved from playing OSM to playing Crusade. So we think that he might have some input about not just OSM, but the private server community as well. And we expect him to be coming in here any moment.
No, I'm in here now.
Hey, what up?
Hey, what's up, Cheetur?
Yeah, what's up, dude? Just waiting for you to finish my grand introduction.
Hey, all right, we've got your Thanos face up right now for
hell yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that introduction? Anything about yourself that you want the audience to know?
Not really. I mean, you covered it pretty well. I play the game a lot. I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable on most things Maple. And yeah, I'm just here to share my experiences with the MapleStory private servers and my experience with OSM as a whole.
All right. So how's your day going so far? You doing all right? You're on a 40-hour grind right now. What hour are you on?
Well, my internet went down like multiple times, so technically I'm on like hour 15 or 16, but on the stream it's only 13 hours. So I'm gonna try for 40 hours, like on the actual like uptime thing. But
you sound pretty high energy for 15 hours. Like my longest stream was 10 hours, and I was dying by the end of it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. There's like walls you hit in like certain stages of the stream. Like I'm past like the 12-hour wall, so now I got to make it to 24, and 24 is a wall. And see.
Yeah, I've done some longer streams, definitely passing like the sort of 24-hour mark, and it definitely feels bad at certain hour markings where your body is just definitely rejecting what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Right.
You definitely gotta hydrate. You gotta fucking. I smoke weed, so that helps a lot. Like smoking a little bit of weed and then drinking some caffeine, that'll help.
You know, there's definitely something to be said of marijuana in private servers. I think.
No, it is, dude.
I think these things go hand in hand, personally.
Yeah, I run into so many people that smoke weed on Maple, and it's just like the drug of choice for MapleStory players, I guess.
The first 200 on Royals, IGN Hacker, which I guess sounds a little similar to you because your IGN is cheap.
Yeah.
He was also somebody who would smoke and grind, and that was his way to 200, and he was able to beat the competition. So
it's like the perfect way.
Is that the secret?
It is. I'm telling you, like eating caffeine is like it's. I don't know. It helps a lot. It's like it's cheating almost. I feel like.
Right. Be sure to only smoke weed if it's legal in your area, kids. I mean, no kids allowed. Yeah. Be 18 plus.
Yeah, kids. Lots of weed, kids.
All right. So we had a bunch of questions that we were going to ask the OSM staff before they pulled out of our podcast.
Should we update 4 days. The viewers on the situation with the guests just before we get into it? We might have some people that have come in here.
Let's go ahead and update them on that. Thankfully, Cheetur has come to our aid when we were missing our guests 4 days before doing the podcast. Unfortunately, OSM staff elected to not be here today. So we decided that probably one of their more recognized community members would be a good replacement.
Yeah.
Even if
Did they say why they dodge out?
It may or may not have had to do with me being a host on the podcast personally. They seemed to be afraid of certain questions or topics.
Yeah.
We can get into those. I mean, we have the
question. If they're not here, mine as well. Like
we do have the questions.
Bro, you gotta go in.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Cheetur, I'm glad you're here because we had a lot of questions prepared for the OSM staff team. And
yeah, I've read through a lot of them.
When we went through these questions with them, we got a little bit of feedback for them. One of the staff members was saying, yeah, this is good. Let's talk about this. Yeah, this is good. Let's good. And another one of the staff members said, no. And we're going to talk about all the ones that they didn't want to talk about and maybe speculate on maybe why they decided to pull out of the podcast and why those questions to them seemed a little bit too much for discussion on our show. So
boy, let's get into it. Fucking, I'm ready.
All right, so just to get started, get a little background for OSM. If anybody has not played OSM or has not heard about it, this is a version 1, or it's now a version 2 server. They've updated one version that is pretty much a replication of a couple previous servers, Maple Global and Tales of Victoria, which have shut down and in the process taken down another server called Beta, or Maple Beta, which a lot of people loved and are a little upset about that situation. But this is a version 1 server with 1 times rates for the most part. And
it's 2 to 1 rates.
Oh yeah, 2 to 1 rates. Sorry about that. Yeah. You start out with 2 times experience, and as you level up from, I believe, level 10 to level 80, your EXP goes down. So you're going to be starting with 2 times at level 10, and once you hit level 80, your experience rate is going to be 1 times. We did touch on the degressive experience a little bit earlier in the server. If you had some input on that, Cheetur, I'd love to hear it.
I'm sorry, one more time?
You know how on OSM they've got the degressive experience? You start out with 2 times experience, and then you work your way to 80, and you have 1 times. What are your thoughts on degressive experience?
All right, well, as a side note, it's really retarded that they called it a progressive EXP system when it's a regressive one. That was like a little, it's not that big a deal, but it kind of bugged me because when you read it, it's like, oh, progressive. Like it goes up, and then you get in, it's like it goes down. So I was like, first off, they don't even know the terminology, so it was kind of like, but guess whatever. Yeah, I don't really. So like to talk about the system itself, it's not bad, like not inherently, but if you think about like the way they went about it, I hate, like, I don't know. There's no other word to describe it other than incompetent, because it's like you can't slow down content release, but speed up player progression. So there's literally no reason to have a progressive or regressive EXP system in the game if they plan to release this content as slowly as they are doing.
Right.
They plan to release it slow in the future. So I don't really like it at all. It doesn't seem like the system it was planned very well around like their content release dates. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't speed up player progression and then slow down content releases.
So what would you have preferred? Just a flat 1 times or a flat 2 times?
Yeah, either a flat 1 times, which I mean probably would kill their player base a little bit, because not a lot, like, whether people like to admit it or not, like most people are older and not a lot of people are like as autistic as me and have as much time to play that long every day. So 1x is just not doable for most people.
Right.
So I don't think it should have been 1x, because then they'll have the Phoenix treatment and then not have a huge player base. But at the same time, if they're gonna keep that 2x, which I think they should, they need to speed up the content, dude. It's like the only way. You can't have one of the, like, you can't, they don't mix. You have to have the content be sped up if you're going to speed up the leveling.
Did you have any discussions with the private server owners, OSM owners, about why the content was being slowly released? Because as I understand it, it's a version 62 client, right? And it's all built off v62. So correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know everything about coding, but would it not be easy enough to just, reverse, all they did to make the server was put up a v62 and then take out everything that wasn't
exactly. That was my main point. So
all they would need to do is click a button, so to speak, to put that content in, right?
Like you said, I'm not like super experienced in the world of coding, but I've played other v62 servers and they've never had problems implementing stuff like third job, like core content relatively quickly. It shouldn't take 2 months to implement something like third job. So they definitely do have the ability to implement third job, because I've also talked to people that have tested the beta and they said that third job was working, and it was in the beta. So that means it's ready. They're just intentionally like holding it back.
Did they tell you why?
They did not. I never asked though, because I mean, I don't know. I just didn't feel like there was a reason really to ask why, because it's kind of like seeing the way that the server was progressing, there was no real reason to hold it back, in my opinion.
It seems, at least to me, very counterintuitive and somewhat disrespectful to the people like you 100%. Who have put in the most work and the most time into the server. They're most loyal players, who you not only are somebody who plays the server very passionately, maybe passionately, not the right word, autistically, but you also support the server. You're streaming it as well. You're broadcasting it out to a lot of people that are watching it. And for them to limit your content and the people that have put the most time into the server intentionally, it seems like, at least to me, a slap in the face.
No, 100%. Because if you
to
think
you?
about it, no, 100%. You think about it, like I do play the game a shit ton, but
Right.
there's people like Monzo and Hexco that play the game just as much as me, and they started 10 days before I did. I started 10 days late, and I still made it to rank 7 on the server.
Sure.
So if you just like, if you put that into perspective, like if I can make it to rank 7 in the server starting 10 days late, then that you can just use that as an example for why the content needs to be released faster. Because
Yeah.
like if I'm able to progress at that quick of a rate, being that far behind, that means the progression is too fast for how slowly the content is coming out. And then I have people calling me entitled because I don't want to wait an additional 3 weeks total. It's not 2 weeks, by the way. People keep saying it's 2 weeks, but we had already been in on out for a week before they announced it. And they didn't even announce it until I had constantly like been complaining and like bugging them about it and saying shit about it on stream that they needed to at least announce when their job is going to come out.
Sure.
Like they don't. I was like, oh, okay. If they're not going to release it anytime soon, at least let us know when it's coming out, so that we're on all just literally just endlessly grinding on that for no reason. Because when you're at the level of progression that me or Monzo are at, there's literally nothing for you to do. Like all there is for you to do is just hoard scrolls. That's it.
If the most dedicated players are hitting their head against a wall over and over and over again,
literally
saying we need content, and they're not paying attention to you guys, who is it that they're paying attention to? Who's the player base that they are more loyal to than you?
This is my main point. I get called entitled for this all the time. You're entitled, blah, blah. I'm like, how am I entitled? Because I'm just witnessing the flaws of the server and the flaws of like the way the server is progressing.
Entitled might be a strong word
because I played it. Yeah, that's
in this instance, I think that you are entitled. I think that you are somebody who is supporting the server. You are somebody who has put in the most time. The person and the demographic that they are targeting is this old school hardcore playership, and there's not that many of you out there. For them not to be paying closer attention to you and giving you, I'm not necessarily saying preferential treatment, but paying way more attention to the content and the needs that you have. Because new players have nothing to complain about. They're not missing any content. They're not missing anything. If they're not loyal to you and what you need, I do think that you are entitled to have a stronger and more valuable opinion than the people that are just joining the server, because you're the person that has put in more time. You're the person that's supporting the server. If they're not catering to you, then who are they catering to?
Exactly. And it wasn't like I was asking for any like super special treatment. I'm like, dude, third job benefits literally everybody. Like what I asked anybody that disagreed with my argument, like disagreed that third job should come out sooner, to give me any valid reason why or the benefits of holding back third job. And not a single person, not a single one of the people that was calling me entitled in the chat and telling me I quit, I was just looking for a reason to quit. None of them could give me a reason for why you would want to hold third job back. It literally only benefits the server. If you release third job, all the people that aren't third job have a reason to level up, so they're not just hitting third job and then grinding second job for no reason. If you release third job, all the people that are already up there get to advance the third job and start enjoying the game more. I was like, there's literally no reason not to release it.
I mean, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead, Skoaned.
This is kind of the reason that they went with a v62 source, was purely for the easy implementation of features. It's so that they, originally when the server was being founded, they had this idea that they would be able to quickly release content to adapt to how the players are leveling. And the reason behind their source choices and version number of the tools that they're using, it really doesn't make sense to put it on like monthly timestamps per se.
Right.
Just because it's like it's there, and that's why you made these choices earlier. And I think there has really been a lack of communication of what even the timeline is. I mean, we have we have the what generally came when sort of website that everyone refers to, where third job is labeled as version 14. Obviously, it's not coming on version 14. They're putting it on version 3.
Right.
What kind of changes can we really expect?
Yeah, that's a great
to
question.
The timeline, and we don't really know.
That's the big thing about OSM that I think a lot of people are frustrated with, is that there's no timeline. For a server like this, where we know what's going to be in the server, we just don't know when. We know that it's going to be up to version 39. We know what content's going to be in it. Everybody knows we have history to look at. We know what's going to be in the server. If if only they could do this and they have the content. All they need to do, as I understand it, is click a button because it's in the game. It's a version 62 client. All they need to do is click a button, let that content be released. All they need to do is make a timeline. On this version, we're going to put this in. On this version, we're going to put this in. On this version, we're going to put this in.
And then like
we're
rough times.
They don't even need to put when. They don't even need to put the dates. I honestly think that the dates should be dynamic. The dates should be working
Dynamic
with
dates?
the people. No, I don't think the dates should be on a timeline as far as time, like time stamps itself. I think version updates for sure. What each version is going to contain, for sure. But when they release it, as far as a specific chronological time, I don't think it's necessary. I would prefer that to be dynamic, like what we were saying about Cheetur, because he reached content within X amount of days. And you can't really predict the amount of time that it's going to take for a server to reach, for a player to reach X amount of content or X content. They need to release it as those players achieve that content. No later than 2 weeks within somebody releases. So if somebody hits 70, I think that's right there. Okay, within 2 weeks, we need to have that person be third job. That's how I would run the server anyway. But the big thing is they need to have versions laid out very clearly what's going to be in each version. And that shouldn't be dynamic. But the time, I think they should work with the people.
I mean, even just like rough approximate times, I think would give, like, I know you're against times, but I think some sort of rough estimate would give players like something to look forward to and sort of a sense of security that the server will be putting this in, and here's a rough estimation, and you can put more faith into it, I suppose, instead of just sort of this blind belief that you're supposed to have. It's like, well, we're on version 2 and we have no idea when third job's coming out until we bug them to tell us, and then what's after a third job? What are they implementing now? Is it going to be another month? Is it going to be 2 weeks? What are we looking for, in terms of what we can expect next? Because sometimes players want to level up to, X level before that content comes out so they can be ready for it. And without really knowing what to expect, since they're already, messing with what comes out when, there's no way to prepare yourself for that.
Right. In defense of a server owner that might be running something like OSM for the timeline of release, for the versions, I think there's no excuse. I think they should have it laid out in what each version will contain. But like you said, a general timeline, an estimate of maybe every few weeks, something like that, not a specific date. I could see that as well. A rough estimate is fine, at least at the very beginning. But once we get into version, say we're in version 20, we're in version 25, and they've been releasing consistently, say you could average out, say, how long has it been between each version from version 1 to version 20? It's been roughly 2 to 3 weeks between each version. It's been roughly a month between each version. At that point, I don't think there's necessarily going to need a time specifically. You'll just need to know what's next, and it's probably going to be sometime within the next few weeks. If it doesn't arrive on time, if it doesn't arrive as players might expect it to, that's when you would put out an announcement and say, hey, sorry that this one's taking a little bit longer than the last ones. At least that, working it like that and not having hard dates is going to at least give you a little bit of wiggle room as an administrator to not meet those deadlines as strictly as you can, because as I'm sure Kimber, Shy, and whoever else is in here that runs private servers knows, not everything happens exactly on schedule all the time. Mess ups do happen, and I do think that there needs to be some sort of fail-safe for when that does happen in a way that doesn't have players reacting, going like, oh shit, that didn't release on the day that they said it's going to be. But saying as long as you know, right? As long as you know, say, okay, this Saturday we are 100% ready to release Ludi. I think that's good within a few days or something like that. Just get players a little bit hyped and know that they can come online.
I think some sort of even a teaser, right? If we had a teaser of what was coming next, they came out with the third job video. We're implementing third job, and it's like, cool. Sure. Well, we all kind of really knew that, Yeah. If right at the end of the third job announcement video, they, showed a Lego block or something, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, after third job, Ludi's coming out. And then, once that's implemented, everyone's going to start thinking, oh, I need, let's say I'm already leveled past LPQ level. Let's make an LPQ account. And then you have your players excited for the content that they've already gotten. Sure. And then sort of, what they can plan for in the future so that they feel motivated to play.
Sure. All right. As far as the timeline goes, I think that's everything I wanted to touch on. Is there anything you wanted to add there as far as release schedule goes? Because I know that was a huge thing for you, Cheetur.
Yeah, so the release schedule is a big one for me because it's like I do agree with some of the topics or some of the points you guys made on this topic that there does need to be like a fail safe for servers, but where they lose me, OSM specifically, is the fact that they don't say anything at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They don't communicate whatsoever, so it's hard to be lenient with administrators that literally just don't speak to their community. Like
right.
As a player, you shouldn't have to go out of your way to get in contact with the administrator to ask when content is being released. Yeah. You should know generally like an area of time when the patch is coming and what is coming in the patch. Not like literally like you shouldn't have to go and like bug them about it and then for them to like finally release it. And then only to be surprised that there's literally only third job and a cash up update coming. So we're waiting almost a month and we're getting just like two things. Yeah. That was probably the tipping point for me on that was like the tipping point for me on the release schedule thing. Cause I'm like, dude, I'm waiting this long for updates. Like, and you're going to toss me fucking some scrap food, like third job. Like we're already heading into the levels where we're going to be ready for deep looty and they're just now giving us third job. So it's like, what happens when we level to the point of deep looty? Like, you're just going to make us wait another month, 2 months when we're far beyond that content.
And I could see from your perspective how that would be extremely demotivating, knowing that you've already put in so much time and thinking like, well, I've waited this much time for so little. How much time am I going to have to wait for an actual update? And I could see your perspective of just table flip. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else because I don't know what to expect. I don't know when the next release is coming out. It seems to be way further away, and you're not telling me why it's not coming out sooner. You're not communicating. Communication is huge.
And when I said, like, I messaged him and they said it was coming out soon. And the reason it was frustrating me is because, like, I was like, people have different definitions of what soon means. I was like, soon to me is within like a week or so.
Yeah. Well,
but when he finally,
it's a meme on private servers, but
exactly. So he was like, he was like soon, and I was like, okay, so soon can mean anything. Soon can mean like tomorrow. Soon can mean this week.
Yeah.
And
next
then I was like,
year.
Yeah, I was like, when is soon? And then I asked him again. I was like, well, hopefully it's within the week because the top players are going crazy. And he said, we agree, it'll come out soon. He said soon again, and I was just like,
soon.
Okay, thanks. I'm like, I don't know when soon is, and I'm kind of getting bored of the game. And the only thing keeping me motivated is racing for rank 1. Like, if I wasn't hardcore going for rank 1, I probably would have quit already.
Yeah.
But thanks for telling me soon, because that helps me know.
To touch on communication just a little bit more, because it is so critical. The reason why, well, we know that a server must communicate with its players. We all know this. It's a given. It's unfortunate that it hasn't happened that well on OSM. They have released a statement recently, which we'll bring up in a minute. But one of the things that concerns me when a private server owner or just the staff in general doesn't communicate with the players, that's a red flag to me that they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know what their ideas are. They don't have a general goal for what the server is going to be, what they want from it, with their direction. It makes me think that they don't really know what they have in store. Not everything is planned out. They're kind of just making it up as they go. And if it sounds like these people that are putting up these 15-year-old children's video games on a whim to make money don't really know what they're doing it, and they're making it up as they go, if that sounds far-fetched to you, you're probably out of your mind. They probably don't, honestly. I mean, if we're being real here, they haven't really charted out what the future of the server is going to be. They haven't really charted out what they plan to do at certain stages and why and when and who they're catering to. They don't have a core value system for what the server will be and what players can expect. And because they don't have a direction, no wonder they can't communicate those ideas, because they don't have the ideas. Not yet, anyway.
Exactly. And to touch on that a little bit more, though, is like, I agree like almost 100% with what you said, because I feel like it is a bit harsh for me to keep calling them incompetent, but like that's just me being kind of toxic because I'm a little upset about how it's being run. But it really does just seem like they have no idea what they're doing. And it may not it may not be that they're incompetent. It's just like it just seems they're like they're very unprepared. Like they just didn't don't know
and unplanned. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they just jumped into the server and had literally zero idea like path they wanted it to go down.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of
the whole EXP system the way it is.
I mean, that's kind of why we wanted to have them on the podcast, right? We ourselves wanted those answers, and we felt like this would have been a good way for us to communicate with them. And it appears that they didn't really want to do so.
Exactly. But if they dodged out of this, I knew for a fact that something fishy was going on, because it's like, why would you avoid a chance to like explain your side of the story and defend yourself if you are a genuine server owner? So
yeah, and I feel like them having some rebuttal to what the community is saying would be a good way to sort of clear it up with players and maybe restore some of the faith in the community that this is going the direction people want it to go. Updates and stability and stuff like that will all improve or be planned or stuff like that. And I think this would be a good way to transition into the forum post they made.
Before you do, I do want to touch on them passing on the podcast. I think that this is another main point that illustrates the lack of them being able to communicate effectively. I can understand to a degree why they would have reservations about wanting to come on here and us really grill them with some hard questions. And I don't know if it's the hard questions that they were trying to avoid or if it was actually what they said, a personal issue that they had with Skoaned. I don't know what they genuinely feel, but what we do have is evidence from the discussions that we did have with them. We, in preparation for the podcast, prepared a lot of questions and a lot of topics, and we brought them to them. So they knew ahead of time, and they knew what they could say in response to our questions, and they could have some things ready for them to say and show them in a good light. Because anybody that we bring on here, same as Cheetur, we're not going to shit on Cheetur. Sure, I called him an autist in jest, but we're not going to shit on anybody that comes onto the show. Genuinely, anybody that comes on here, I have a lot of respect for you. We're memers. We're talking about private servers, which is sort of shady business to begin with. I totally understand having reservations about wanting to do our show. However, when we laid out all of the topics and we laid out questions for what we wanted to talk about, there were just hard no's. There were no, we don't want to talk about this. No, we don't want to talk about this. And no, I'm not going to talk about this. And because of those things, it 100% illustrates that they don't either have the capacity, the desire, or the will to actually communicate and be real with the people that are playing their servers. Because honestly, there's been some pretty shady shit that's happened on OSM in the past and in the currently going on, and some questionable stuff that I definitely think that they deserve a little bit of pushback on, and saying like that. Well, I don't know if I'm trying to, dox these guys or anything like that. Now, I'm not trying to be too harsh on OSM and the staff, but unfortunately, they've put up a pretty spotty server so far. Spotty server so far. And they've had a lot of lag issues. They've had a lot of things that they have not been truly willing to address in a live format with us, as well as some other things that I think would be great conversation topics to have as far as Nexon and the DMCA about what the administrators have done in the past and what brought them to create this server. Why did they make OSM? What are their goals? These are questions that they outright just said, no, we don't want to talk about those things. I don't know if it's fear. It could be genuinely, or maybe they're just afraid of what, or like they said, maybe it's just Skoaned. They think that Skoaned is just the problem here, and he's just not going to be fair with them. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I think I've been a little bit more critical about OSM this podcast than Skoaned has. To be honest,
I feel like if anything, I'd feel like it would be me they would be avoiding more than Skoaned. I've gone in on them way harder than I feel like anybody has, and I feel like that's probably why I have like the reputation that I have, is because I just say whatever is on my mind about.
Well, I love that about you personally, but I could understand why people wouldn't. If you're.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why. I mean, I was going to be more civilized towards them if they did come on this. I wasn't going to be like I was like on my stream, because that's my platform. So if they did actually come onto the show, I wasn't gonna just like fucking bombard them and be all toxic like I usually do on my stream. I want genuine answers because I was genuinely like excited about OSM and I wanted it to be a good server.
Yeah.
And I had countless people tell me about how like they failed in the past and how ASDF switched his name to ASDF and it was Roar before, and how Purple and ASDF are bad server owners. And I was just like, whatever, I'm not going to listen to any of those people. I'm banning everybody that talks bad about them. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And then only to be proven like wrong about them and to be on the same boat as the people talking shit about them is just very ironic. So it's like, damn, I want answers more than I would. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I look even more dumb to my viewers, even though I don't really care because it's like, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So looking dumb doesn't really matter. Like I gave them a shot. I said I was going to. They blew it. So now I'm here telling you guys, like, I experienced it as well. My first time ever with them, it didn't go so well.
There's a pattern that I've noticed with the owners of OSM, and maybe you guys can recognize it too if I share a couple things with you. That historically, there was a server called Maple Global. Maple Global, unfortunately, got shut down by Nexon, and it went underground for a little while. They called it TOV. TOV, same situation. Bam, slapped down. In the process of trying to survive, TOV took down another server by trying to merge with it. That server was called Maple Beta. Bam, both of those slapped down. Maple Beta, that sucked because Maple Beta was a good community and there were a lot of cool people. Well, maybe not a lot. There were a few good people there. But they really loved what they had going on there, and it was up for over a year, and I'm sure there's some people in the chat that would agree with that. That went down. And in the void of very old school version 1 private servers that there wasn't anything left, the administrators swooped in and they saw the opportunity and they put up this server called OSM. And basically what I'm getting at here, well, let me address another point. That's what happened. That's sort of grassroots of OSM. They swooped in and they sort of captured this community that was homeless for a little while. Fast forward a little bit, the server's been out for a couple months. Skoaned and I make a podcast. Skoaned and I have, I think, a relatively successful first podcast. You know, we're just a couple kids that are
adults.
Yeah, we're a couple grown men making MapleStory private server 15. Anyway, we make this show because we feel like there's really no central location for people to talk about these things, and we see this as a great opportunity for this server that is trying to really birth itself into something successful and bring them onto the show and, you know, try and correct some of the issues that they've been having because they've been having communication issues. They've had a lot of server downtime and lag, and this would be a great opportunity for them to get on a platform, talk to the community at large, that, you know, a platform that hasn't really existed, to jump on this thing and get, you know, make a case for themselves. And what did they do? They said they'd do it. They'd say they'd do it, but then they pulled out, and lo and behold, they make an announcement saying that they want to start their own talk show. And they want to start their own podcast, guys. I can't imagine. Hold on a sec. Did they
one day?
Where did they get the version 1 idea from? Where did they get the version 1 idea from? Did they take an idea from somebody else? Hold on. And then they backed out of our show, and then they wanted to do what now? They wanted to do the same thing that we're doing? Wait a sec, what?
Their own talk show. It appears that
you guys picking up what I'm putting down?
After they decided to pull out of our podcast, they made a forum post about making their own OSM talk show. And in this forum post, they highlight over some of the host issues, which we'll also go over, and sort of give them more of the benefit of the doubt that, you know, sometimes dealing with hosts is difficult. And the host of choice for the first host, I did briefly I knew what kind of host they were looking for, in terms of privacy being the number one concern. And with privacy being the number one concern and ignoring government papers, any kind of attempt of shutdown, stuff like that, the type of VPSs or dedicated servers that offer these kinds of, we're just not going to listen to any outside interaction at all, is they don't really brag about uptime. They don't really brag about customer service. They don't really brag about keeping the 5 nines. They're not really trying to provide quality as much as bragging about security. And that's really what sort of plagued OSM in the beginning, where you see in the forum post, they would make a ticket with their host, and then they wouldn't respond for an entire day each time. It appears that they may have not even had access to a control panel of any kind. You notice that we only receive a control panel screenshot after they switch hosts to determine if it was the DMCA or not. So there were a lot of rumors of DMCA, and that could be easily cured with a screenshot from announcements or stuff like that.
Detective Skoaned on the case.
Yeah, you could just say, look, guys, we're not getting DDoSed. Here's a picture of our network control panel graph, like they did later for the first VPS, but they didn't post anything like that. There's no... To me, that would be something easy, and it's something they thought of later. And I think that could have easily been done to dispel rumors if there was actual DDoS happening.
Yeah.
So it kind of alludes to me thinking that they didn't actually have access to a control panel, which might have been very possible. And that's kind of maybe why they had trouble identifying some of their issues in the first place.
Do you think them not having access to a control panel is illustrative of what Cheetur called them incompetent?
No, I think it's just evident that their priorities were in the wrong place initially when it came to picking their host.
I see.
And they did mention in the forum post that they bought multiple months at a time of this dedicated host, which makes it rough financially, because when you start buying dedicated hosts in month packages, it's a lot of upfront cost.
Yeah.
To be very fair, and to host a server for that amount of people with that kind of upfront cost, you're definitely getting up there. And I think I don't remember this exactly, and I wish I had recorded it or written it down somewhere, but I believe that Purple, don't quote me on this, was in the voice chat at one point, and he briefly mentioned how much their current server costs were on the old dedicated host. And I believe it was upward of like 180 a month. And if they bought it in a month's packages, like we're looking at a couple months, that is a rather large down payment before you actually receive a lot of donation money.
Right. So you're thinking that they probably fronted the cost themselves, and they were
hesitant on switching. Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, I don't know if they really fronted the costs themselves though, because they had multiple servers before that, right? So that would imply that they lost money on their other servers and had no money to begin with to run OSM.
Right.
But knowing that they've had multiple servers before would lead me to believe that they already have money, unless literally no one donated on those other servers. So that they should have already had money saved up to be able to just buy a host outright.
At this point, I do feel like we're speculating probably a little too much.
We are speculating a little bit.
Well, that's kind of the only thing you can do, though, because they don't speak. They don't say anything. They don't give you any information. So all you can do is speculate.
All right,
because they're so secretive about it.
I do think this would be a good point then to bring up what they have shared with us, which is the forum announcement that they put up a couple days ago. Do you have that up, Scone?
I do have it up.
Cool.
And I'll sort of... I could read the whole thing, but it is rather lengthy. I'm going to mostly skim through and summarize.
Sure.
Hey, everyone. We're making a post regarding the status of OSM about the month of January and some of the issues and problems that it's had in regards to stability. Long story short, even though it's still long, the provider we initially picked failed. After 9 days of smooth gameplay upon the launch, they began experiencing issues. This was around... I think it was December 28th was the first announcement of when they started having connection issues. At first, they didn't really know what was wrong. They recently did a patch, so they reverted everything, and then they were still having issues, or reverted everything back to beta status. Still having issues, then they reverted it back, and then they were trying to communicate, and back and forth and back and forth. And unfortunately... the host started blaming it on them, is what they started saying. Yeah, they talk about player count and lag. Unfortunately, Yeah, so the host passively aggressively responded to us saying that server crashing was our fault. In other words, the host was rude, unprofessional, etc. And hosts that, again, back to sort of the privacy thing, where it's more of you want to use us. You're doing some sort of illegal activity, which is what these are catered toward.
Sure.
And you want to choose us because we'll keep all your stuff private. So it's kind of like, I can see the sort of passive aggressive nature of like, you need us more than we need you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then they swapped to a different one, and then right after swapping, they didn't set up the DDoS protection.
Ooh, that's an oof. What happened when they switched servers? They announced that this server was going to come out on this day. They let everyone know that they were switching to a new powerful host. And they didn't put up the DDoS. They were
asking for it. They were a little. How can I say this?
What did they expect? That's all you can say. What did they expect?
They were a little pompous, almost. It was kind of like a. What am I looking for, Malbec?
I don't know. The thing about it though is that they hyped up, first of all, they were having some serious issues with the lag, and obviously they needed to switch hosts. And when they did, I will say, and I'm still pretty active on the server, by the way, all things said, I actually still play OSM. It's been very stable. It's been very stable since they've switched hosts and put up the DDoS protection.
Nice.
But when they did switch hosts and they didn't put up the protection, when they announced the day that was going to be up, they were just absolutely waiting for somebody to come and hit them with a hammer. So that's what happened. And I don't know. Does it say there in the thread why they didn't put up the DDoS at the same time?
I think they made an oopsie.
I think that's what it was. I think they made an oopsie.
And they complained about money issues.
Not enough items in the cash shop, maybe.
This made switching difficult and expensive. We invested substantial amount into our previous host by setting up DDoS protection and purchasing multiple months of their dedicated server package. So, they don't. We did not have enough time to set up DDoS protection.
Oh, okay.
I don't understand this argument here because, to me, I really enjoy server launches. I'm definitely someone who sort of enjoys the ranking race.
Right.
And when there's situations where some players can play and other players just can't, because you would see instances in Discord where a bunch of people were just complaining about the server lag.
Right.
And then there were people who just didn't understand. They would reply with, the server's not lagging for me. I don't understand. And then there would be some announcement of OSM recognizing, hey, the server is lagging. So there were two parties where some people would lag, some people wouldn't lag, and some people outwardly refused to play during somewhat of the most important part of a server launch, which is more or less stability in the race.
Yeah.
So the fact that they didn't kind of take the cue that, if we're going to be undergoing massive changes like hosting and trying to work out bugs in our own code, maybe, it's almost better to take down the game. I know that's like, but we want people to play and people are excited, and it's like, why not take down the game for just a couple days? You're not going to lose all your players. Players will still patiently wait and just sort of take some time and try to figure it out.
Well, the reason they didn't, and I think this is part of the oopsie, is that they made a big fuss about this being, they put out a video that was like, new powerful host detected, this is the day, and they made it very clear, and a lot of people came back just for this, because it was laggy for a long, long time. They're like, this is the day it's not going to be laggy. So people planned to be on that day. They came on. What did they get? They got lag because of the DDoS. And I think that might have hurt them substantially because, the people that were expecting to come on and have lag free didn't get what they were promised, and maybe rage quit in a nutshell. Who knows?
As a side note onto that, not only did it get DDoS and lagged with the new host, it was on the compensation day of all days. So it was like icing on the cake that the one day of the week they chose. I ranted about this the whole week prior to them like announcing that, because at first it was only supposed to be an 8-hour event, but then because of the lag, I was like, they have to compensate us for more than 8 hours. There's no way we can deal with 2 weeks with the lag and only get an 8-hour event.
Right.
So they ended up bumping it up to 24 hours, which I still thought was like the bare minimum they could have done. But hey, I mean, the win's a win. So we get the event, and then as soon, like literally as soon as we start grinding, not like maybe like 20 to 30 minutes after the event starts, the server just starts getting DDoSed, and then tons of players are just like fucking going ham. Everyone's raging. Everybody waited for this. This is a 24-hour event. New host.
You chugged a Red Bull for nothing. You smoked that Bull for
like,
nothing.
Everyone's just like, bro, what the fuck? Like, we're all waiting for this. And people called off work to grind that day.
Well,
like,
hold on. I wouldn't advise anybody to do that, but I mean, people did do
people were calling off work. People were taking the day off to like grind on those days and shit like that, only for it to get DDoS. And the DDoS didn't stop for like, I want to say like it felt like at least 5 to 6 hours, because I grinded through the whole thing. I pulled a 40-hour through it. So there's like the whole first like half of the event for most people, because not everybody plays as long as I do. So 5 to 6 hours is like a lot. All most people are gonna get, which is another reason why I was like basically ranting and like pleading that they turn it into like a coupon-based event to where people could use the event whenever they wanted, just in case something like this happened. Because I knew something like this was going to happen the whole time. I was like, they're going to get a new host. It's going to get something bad is going to happen. It's going to crash. They're going to get DDoS. There was like so many things that could have gone wrong, and I knew it was going to happen, and it did, and it just made it feel that much worse. And I was just like, it's just the icing on the cake.
Time will tell what the future will hold for OSM, but it's been a rough launch so far. I mean, since December 22nd when they launched, it's just been a very rocky start in almost every area. I do think that there is some hope for their future. I know that they're going to be starting a talk show pretty soon. Maybe that's going to help out a little bit. If anybody wants to apply to be on that thing, I don't know. Who knows?
I don't think so.
I mean,
I'm more like after the cop out, dude. I feel like we're being too nice towards them. Like this is how they're not even that big of like you can't even really call them a company, but like they're running a private server. Imagine. This is how companies like EA get away with stuff like this, when you just like brush their bullshit under the rug. Oh, it's okay. Like I have the fucking hopes for their future. Like if they don't change shit now, I don't see OSM lasting very long, because it's like they literally declined to come on this podcast to make their own. Like what is the point in that? What is the point in making your own podcast to talk about the same things you could have talked about here? What they're gonna do is hide more information from their players and then talk about things they want to talk about, so that they don't, catch any flack. And that's all I see coming out of that.
That was essentially the idea.
I mean, they said that straight up. They're like, we're going to be able to structure, I don't know, do we have the quote from them? That's just like, we're going to be able to talk about the things and structure the show the way that we want to do it, and, have complete control over all the topics. Like, that's what they told us.
It was so there were no variables. It was so there was no uncontrolled variables that they couldn't enforce and moderate.
Exactly. And to me, stuff like that it just spells disaster. That seems like such a shady way to run things. It's like we don't want to talk about anything we don't want to talk about, because
everything's shady around here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like that's like a next level of shady. Even most other private servers are at least like transparent somewhat with like the way they want to structure things, but they literally don't want to answer anything. Anything that has a bad like connotation to it, it's like nope.
I do want to throw a bone here, and this is what I have to say. In OSM's defense, and a lot like what I was touching on earlier when I was telling people not to make private servers. Like, don't do it because it's gonna fail. If you don't have a team of people that knows what they're doing and has extensive experience in the past and has the time to dedicate, the number one reason why servers shut down is because the owner of it just doesn't have time. Right? They eventually fizzle out because like, oh, we don't have the time to commit to this thing. It's not working out the way that we wanted it to. That's the top one. But other than that, it's because they don't have the resources and they're not running things right, and they're not running things in a way that is community friendly and interactive, and just in general, it's a bad idea to start a private server. Where I will throw them a bone is this, because like what I was saying back then, was they're up against tough competition. They're up against Royals and Legends and servers that have these legacies that last years and years, that have stability and patchwork on patchwork on patchwork that make them very reliable, 99.99% uptime. And, if you're up against something like that, and that's the expectation from the player base, when you make mistakes, like OSM has, unfortunately, way more often than they probably should, when you do make mistakes, the community comes down hard. Like they are right now, like we are right now, because we have a certain expectation. There's a standard in this children's video game, 15-year-old children's video game community that we want stability, we want uptime, we want communication from the administration, and if we're not getting it, we'll just go to the servers that do have that.
So,
which
if
is
you don't mind
unfortunate.
me, if you don't mind me interrupting, we have someone in chat who is mostly saying things correlating to that we aren't giving them sort of the benefit of the doubt, and involving them not being here to explain themselves. And I want
we gave them that opportunity.
This is the part where it gets really frustrating, because it's like, here's the people coming in saying you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt, this and that.
Let me finish first. I didn't approach them. I was approached by two different staff from OSM. I said in quote, "It would be nice if I could get server staff on my podcast." I was approached by those staff members directly 3 weeks before the podcast that they wanted to be on it. One was 3, the other one was about a week and a half. So they came to me. They came to me for the podcast and then decided they didn't want to do it. After we spend a lot of time preparing these topics, preparing these questions, and things that the community wants answers for, and then they pull out and then say that they're going to do it themselves without any kind of disclosed date. I would love to wait for their talk show and talk about it. Maybe a reply to OSM or something to the effect of where they can go over these topics themselves on their own platform, and then we can talk about it, break it down, discuss it. But we aren't actually given the opportunity to do that either, because there is no date. They're outsourcing for it themselves for someone else to do it that they would put on staff. And we can't wait for this date that doesn't exist.
That's what they're counting on, though. They're counting on you waiting the entire time for them to be like, ta-da, new video, and they try to fucking hype you up. New talk show. I don't know. It's just overplayed now, and it's like, it gets frustrating because you have people like that in the chat. They're just like, throw them a bone, give them benefit of the doubt. No, they've had too many bones. This is their 3rd server. There's no excuse. They don't get any bones from me, not at all. Because once I found out that they had 2 previous servers, it's like any of the technical issues that people try to explain for them, it doesn't make any sense. Because if you've run 3 servers before, and I'm pretty sure Purple's starting another one. I'm pretty sure he has a project or something he's working on.
We were talking about it a little
so
earlier.
They're starting another one. So by the time you've this many servers in, there's no excuse for why you don't buy DDoS protection. Your hosts are always laggy. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. Not to mention, this may be off topic, but I heard that they were in school, and I've been through this before, where the server owners they have a real life. They're doing something IRL that requires a lot of money. Yeah, exactly. So they have they're trying to afford something, and they use a private server as a way to, supplement that. So it's why not host a server? You put it up, literally bare minimum. It's a V1 server. V62 client, delete everything out of it, open donations. That's literally what they did. So it's where are all those donations going? They don't disclose how much they're making. So unless they're literally breaking even, which I highly doubt if they're able to host multiple servers, then they're making money, and then they're just hiding it, is what it seems like to me.
Not just
it's
that.
they're making money, keeping it, pocketing it, and then when their server fails due to lack of communication and lack of content, they make a new one. And the ASD, Roar's reputation is so shitty that he changed his name to ASDF.
Hold on now. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. That was actually one of the topics that was on our topics to avoid when they were on the podcast. And it's still on our list, but Cheetur brought it up
avoid
anyway.
avoid any topics that might call any attention to my scandals or anything. Forehead. That's what it sounds like.
Well,
Don't make me sound bad because I am bad.
Let me say it like this, in a way that sort of wraps things in a nice little bow. Before we even hit broadcast today and went live on this episode, I think their actions have spoken loud enough. They have we got a list, guys. They have stolen a source. They have stolen a version 1 server idea. They have stolen a talk show idea. They have had bad ideas from the beginning. Regressive EXP, what? The server's been pretty much doomed from the start, and I still play it, which I know I can still get into that. There's a reason why I do, and it's completely unrelated to everything that we talk about here. It's personal reason, but I think they've spoken for themselves with their actions. And every time they make a new announcement, every time they pull out of something, or every time they try and put some lipstick on and say like, we're pretty, we know what we're doing, we have these really nice looking videos, the website is clean, like everything's fine. I think, they're just putting lipstick on a pig at that point. It's just everything they've done action-wise has illustrated that they just don't know what they're doing, or they've just had these profound stumbles over and over again, and they're just extremely misunderstood, which maybe that might be true.
No,
they could have come on here and defended themselves.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. If they would have come on here, I would have been like, okay, maybe all those fuck ups were, just like very unfortunate. But the fact that they declined to come on a podcast where they could have explained everything that happened, explained their side of the story and defended themselves from like all the scrutiny, and they decline it, it's just like, come on.
Oh yeah, and
you gotta have the thickest skull to not see this shit. It's like you either don't play private servers or you're just blind and deaf. Like what they're doing is obviously like a scam. Like they're either scamming you or they're literally like incompetent. That's the only excuse.
Okay, because
we're kind of repeating ourselves here a little bit. I kind of want to move on.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and move to the Twitch side of things, where this was sort of the first server to really push Twitch advertisement. Where this, I don't think I've seen any. Like I've seen a massive amount of different people all streaming OSM.
Okay.
Where it's like, I think it was over 20 at one point, sometime shortly after launch, where there were just tons of people streaming OSM, and you would see people in Discord and you would see them talking about how they saw a bunch of people streaming it on Twitch, right? And this server's got to be popping. This has got to be where the action is. All these people streaming on Twitch. I want to play here. I want to join these people that seem to be broadcasting themselves having a good time. And it creates this sort of effect that the server is really active. Even if the server doesn't have as many online players as, let's say Royal, they have a lot of people streaming on Twitch, which kind of sort of inflates it a little bit.
Yeah,
and
by far the most popular private server on Twitch. By far.
Yes, easily, by far. And I think...
But do you guys know how the OSM Twitch streaming thing works, though? You guys know
it's all about it.
We
understand it, but we're here to cover it.
Okay, good.
So what goes in tandem with this is how the website views count. So the people who are seeing these streams on twitch.television, when they look at how many people are watching the streams, it also sort of increases this number of potential active players, where you will see streams with, possibly no cam, no mic, no game sitting at 30 to 40 viewers in some cases. And, Malbec might pull up screenshots of those later. But what happens is when you go to the OldSchoolMaple website and you're going to do your daily business of voting or checking the rankings, what rank is Cheetur now that he's quit, or, is Monto still rank 1? Who's banned? All that juicy goodness. All those people that are doing their business there are also counting for each one of them as 3 Twitch viewers. However, these people who are using the website as, their daily checking in for OSM action, new videos, etc., those people are counting as Twitch views, whether they even see the stream or not. Why 3? Because 3 streams autoplay at around the middle right of the page. So when you go to the stream, it's not 3 on one stream, but 3 views on 3 separate streams, or up to. So there's, if only one person is streaming, you only count as 1 view. If there's 2 people streaming, you count as 2 Twitch views, and it's on each specific stream.
Right.
And there isn't anything inherently wrong with web embeds. It is legal by, the terms of service on Twitch.television. So they're not breaking any rules. They're not breaking any laws. They're just, it's a bit distasteful. Where, in my opinion, they, advertise that they support Twitch streamers, but they're not supporting them in a way that I'd like to see them supported, because you're having them so you have to scroll down on the main page to even see them, whereas they could be more at the forefront. We could have, instead of 3 streamers, we could have it like Maple Legends has it, which they took the idea, sort of adopted it, and then made it a little better. And you can kind of learn from your competitors at what is a more tasteful way of promoting our Twitch streamers while also having it be more fair.
So just to get a better picture, how does Legends present theirs on their website?
So what Legends does is it's one stream. It's actually larger than 144 pixels, or whatever that size of the extremely small box that they have at the bottom of the page. Instead of, it is more or less a normal size. I don't know exactly how large it is, but it's more of an atypical sized stream. And each person who visits the Maple Legends website gets a random one each time. It's not limited to 3. It's not, a constant, you'll have this many views. It's whoever, when you randomly refresh the site, you'll get a random one each time. And when you visit the site to do your daily business of checking the rankings or voting, you will actually see the stream there. So the viewer that is actually a viewer because they're on the website, their eyeballs see the stream. So when you are featured on the website, you're actually getting eye traffic. The views that you're receiving from the website have a higher chance of becoming real viewers that will stop into your stream regularly than them just counting as a web view.
Right.
Now, this isn't to say that OSM streamers aren't good. This isn't to say that, people didn't get referrals that's mentioned in chat, or that people didn't have real viewers, because having more baseline views increases the ability for you to be found via Twitch.
Right.
But being found via Twitch could just, I would prefer if my server, pointed people who are visiting the website more directly to myself rather than just boosting me on Twitch to be found by other people.
Right. What are the implications for this, for not only streamers, but for servers that come out in the future and want to promote their own server by putting web embed views onto streamers' streams?
I think it really is the next checkbox. And what I mean about checkbox is when you're approaching a potential server to play, there's a couple things I look for if I'm looking for something long term. And a lot of you already know what these are, and it's like, does this server have a website? Does this server have, a G-top advertisement? Does this server have forums, Discord? Does it have all of the mediums of advertisement and ways of promoting themselves and allowing you to have discussion with other users in place? And I think that the power of Twitch up until this point, until OSM, I think proved people wrong, that Twitch is more powerful than people thought. I think that the platform was probably underestimated by a lot. I know I personally underestimated it. The amount of player retention that they have from Twitch is probably pretty high. Right. I really would have appreciated some statistics in this regard. This was something that I really would have liked out of the OSM staff, for some sort of, how many unique users streamed under OSM, how many people, how many referrals from each of the
Yeah.
streamers, how many referrals of them stayed versus other forms of advertisement. I thought that would have been really interesting, thought-provoking conversation, but unfortunately we were unable to provide that.
Those would have been great stats to be to hear from on the staff side. You know, they have the stats that say, you know, how many people have been streaming it. You know, what are the referral links looking like? I think these would have been really valuable information to relay to people that are watching that are maybe streamers themselves. And I see quite a few of them in the chat. So, you know, a lot of you guys might have been interested in that sort of information, but unfortunately,
I think you
we probably
can-
won't get it till the talk show. Their OSM
You
talk.
can look at how many referral links were completed, like your specific one. If you go to your account settings, you can see all of that. But other than
Do you have any stats you'd love to share with us?
I can say I've had 5. So for all of the hours I have streamed, 5 people have come into my stream, used my referral link, and gotten to level 30.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
That's more than I would
It
have
doesn't,
expected. To be
yeah.
honest.
It doesn't tell you how many like people have used it, but it only tells you how many people have completed it. So I have 5. I don't know how many other how many other streamers have, but that's mine.
I gotcha. I know Kainite enjoys bragging about his like 184 referrals or some shit. I don't know if those are like clicked or if all of those people hit level 30 or what the deal is.
I think I don't know if he has a way to find out if they're clicked, but it's definitely not completed. There's no way that he has 148 completed.
10 referred from Samish. Hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, Samush, shout out.
68 from Kainite completed. So this is really an interesting discussion, and I think we're going to kind of see it evolve, and maybe OSM can make some changes to more promote the streamers themselves rather than just promoting their view count.
Right.
Do you
That's
have
well
any
said.
opinions on this, Cheetur?
How could a server
That's a good question,
support
'cause
a
it's-
streamer in a way that's not embed views?
I mean, they kind of already do give you like some kind of reward for streaming. You get if you have the whole OSM thing in your title and you put your name in brackets, you get NX for streaming. So
Sure.
I mean, I guess they are kind of giving you something for streaming, but other than like,
hour, right?
yeah,
25
basically,
cents.
yeah, it's pretty shitty rates. But it's like, I mean, you're just playing the game on stream.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the embedded thing is like the best way, honestly. Maybe not if like they found a way to do it without them like counting people just visiting the site as a viewer.
Right.
You can be like, oh hey, like you go on the site, you see someone streaming, you check them out, but don't give them the boosted views. Like support the
Right.
streamer by post them on your site. Make the Twitch embed like bigger so people can see who's streaming, see their name and stuff like that, because
Sure.
the picture is very tiny, so it's like generally you're not probably gonna like click on it. At least I know I never clicked on it. So
I know the
Yeah, I don't know
how
knee-jerk
many people
reaction
did.
to a lot of people that say streamers, right, that are playing other private servers, or probably even people that play Nexon. There's probably misusing and 0x divide that get real pissed about that shit. But they're probably
Yeah.
Oh,
people,
yeah, for
their
sure.
first
But
their first
this,
reaction is going to be, I see these views, these are fake views, this is bullshit. I work so hard for my views, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've
where
never
I
had
think there's
any
more
of them-
value to it than that. I honestly think there's more value.
I agree.
Than just because say for example, you're streaming OSM. I have an OSM tag right now. That's pretty much what we're talking about, but that's a little bit different on the stream. Typically, if you've got an OSM tag, that means that there's going to be people that are coming in from Twitch. However few there are, I think Legends has a way of displaying the stream that's a lot more conducive to people actually coming in and growing your stream rather than just being a number. But there are still some people that come in from the website, and they've told me on the stream that, oh, I just saw you on the website, I clicked in. I think that's a great
people
way to help out
definitely
the
use
server.
it, but I think
other way around,
people
though.
definitely use it, but it's not as much as we want to see, right?
Right. Well, yeah, well, of course. I mean, yeah, absolutely. But the other way around, you have to think about it from the streamer's perspective. Say you are somebody who is a brand new streamer, and maybe you're getting like 5 or 6 people, like actual people that are coming in and watching you at a time, and your views say 30 plus. You're going to be, depending on how, I don't know, depending on how down to earth you are, you're going to be a little frustrated by that, because that would be frustrating to me, because I want to know how many people are actually in here. I want to be able to chart my progress and be able to interact with the people. So you don't have to stream with that tag, but it really does hurt you if you don't have it there. So that's one of the downsides of it that I think I've noticed. I've also noticed that when I've streamed without the tag, I've done that occasionally. those streams are a lot more fun. I've noticed that the people that come in there, they seem to be a little bit more interactive. It's more of an intimate interaction between the streamer and the people that are in there, and you have better discussions. Those are some of my best streams without the tag.
I definitely think it's like a double-edged sword, because you want to be higher in the directory. Obviously, it's beneficial to have more total views, because when someone just clicks on MapleStory and then scrolls through the channels, there's this underlying assumption that, and I carry it, everyone subconsciously carries it, where if you notice a stream that's at like 1 or 2 viewers, this might sound bad or might offend people, but it's kind of like this streamer is either really new, or they just it's not a very good stream if they're at 1 or 2 views or at 0. Whereas if you can boost that number a little bit, it's like you've entered the realm of, okay, this is a popular streamer, I'm going to click and watch their stream. And if you go there and the streamer has like 10, 20, 30 people and no one's talking at all, then it's easy to assume that the streams below it are of worse quality. If you're coming in and know literally nothing, right, and you see this stream that has this amount of views, and you've scrolled this far down in the directory, which you don't really have to scroll that far. It's MapleStory. There aren't very many, streams there in the first place. But the idea is still the same: is the streams below that must be of lesser quality.
Right.
Is a easy general assumption. Obviously, it's not always true, but it kind of negatively affects the people who aren't having their views boosted. Excuse me. And so people want to use it. But then if you use it, you have an empty chat, but a lot of viewers, and then it kind of looks weird, and then, it gives weird vibes to people who don't understand that you are using a web embed.
Right. Okay, so I've noticed we've talked a lot about the web embeds. I know that is probably a critical topic for somebody who's a streamer, but for those of you guys who aren't streamers, probably not too much that you care about there. I know that there's one more topic that there is another topic that is probably going to be a little bit more pertinent to people that aren't streamers, the people that actually play the servers. And Tigray Stratos in the chat brought it up, so I thought I'd mention it. You ended up finding the server because you got an email from Maple Global. And that is something that has been a big concern for a lot of people, that the emails that were signed up for registered users on Maple Global, a private server that existed, came out like a year and a half ago. Those are the ones that are being used for sending out emails to potential people that might want to play this server. I don't know the history behind that, but it sure looks a lot to me like those emails were either stolen or given to them in a way that was probably nefarious.
So here's the deal with that. I do have a little bit of background information.
And I should note that if OSM staff were to come on the stream today, that was a topic that they did not want to discuss. But here we are without them.
And we would have respectfully, I think in this scenario, I think I definitely would have bent on this topic and not mentioned it if they had decided to be here today, because it does go a little deeper and farther back than comfortable. And I think I would have been happy with everything else. Yeah. If we had a little more discussion about some of the topics, I think we could have came to some sort of middle road on this one.
Yeah.
And some sort of assurance that the emails are only being used as emails. There is no other information leak or something to that effect.
Right.
But we really don't have any information on that. And we weren't actually provided anything. But here's sort of what happened. The developer for OldSchoolMaple used to work.
Continue. Sorry.
Used to develop for the server Tales of Victoria. And so he was effectively in charge of the database that existed there. This database included emails and other account information. Whether this account information includes PayPal usernames, whether this account information includes birthdays, passwords. The passwords are most likely encrypted, of course, as per typical usage. But we don't really know what is also included in this database. And the TOV database also included the Maple Global database, where users registered for a service called Maple Global, And then once it went into TOV, it was under almost a completely different staff. So if you are a completely different staff, you're handed a database from users that didn't register for your service, and then you proceed to use that information for a completely different project, not even led by that previous staff, and using those people's personal information, it is something to be concerned about. As much as what can he do with my email? What can he do with my PayPal? It's more about the principle of taking information that isn't yours and using it for your own intentions. And it's not really something to be proud of or not care about. I've received comments while talking about it that it's just the internet, or it doesn't really matter because all your information's out there anyway. But
it's the principle.
It really is the principle. It's the fact that we don't know now. And it's like, obviously you should use a fodder email, like mentioned in chat. But for a lot of people, Maple Global advertised itself outside of the sort of sphere of private server players. Maple Global was the first server for a lot of players. So a lot of people didn't have sort of protection agencies to, actually realize, hey, when I play a private server, I should always use a VPN. I should always use a throwaway email. People were playing on their real public IPs, which can determine where you live, as well as people's real emails, sometimes including their names. So if you have someone's public IP address, which is pretty much their town or city, as well as an email that contains their full name, you know where that person lives now.
And it brings into question, like what else did they have? Did they have the PayPal donation information? Did they have other things as well?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And
with the history of them stealing almost everything, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
And it's like, realistically, it probably stopped at the emails.
Sure.
I mean, I seriously doubt they're going to comb through the entire database for edging every inch out of everyone or whatever, identity and impersonation. It's just more of the idea that that data is out there with, who knows? Who knows who this database has been shared with, etc. And it's worrying.
It is worrying, and it's not something to just brush off, but here we go. We're moving on to the next topic, guys.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do now, we are getting pretty long into this podcast. We've been over 2 hours now. I think what I want to do now is talk about what the future of OSM might look like. And once we do that, maybe start wrapping up, taking some questions from the chat, and any questions for you guys might have for Skoaned, myself, or our guest, Cheetur. We'll be ready to take those. But if you want to maybe speculate, what do you think OSM is going to look like in a few months, 6 months, a year?
Me personally, I think it'll probably still exist. I think it will sort of return to, I think the sort of player base that it currently maintains, which is like sort of the sub 200 range. I think it's going to probably stay around that. It really depends on how often they push up updates. If they do it actually at the rate of like once a month or once every month and a half, it's really, I think the audience will taper off. I also think that the digressive EXP hasn't really quite hit people yet. I think a lot of people are still in those honeymoon levels where it's, you're past level 30, you're leveling up your abilities, and then once you're going to hit third job, you're like, oh, cool, I'm third job now. And you're going to start leveling your abilities, and you're going to hit this wall at around level 80, level like late 70s, where you're suddenly getting far less than 10% an hour.
And Cheetur would know all about that.
And for a lot of players, that level of EXP rate progression at that early of a level really isn't going to be kosher. And some of the future content and future maps will really help with that. So I think if the timeline is bent in a way where they can release the maps that provide the better EXP rates over time, they can sort of stimulate it and really push it over the sort of 10% an hour mark, because I know that's where it starts becoming grueling for me. And I played all the way past third job in MG POV, and it was mentally testing. It's not that MapleStory is hard. Obviously, it's not hard. Anyone can do it.
It's just time consuming.
But the ability to watch the bar go that slow, and it really, and you could tell like how people's mentals have like evolved over time. Like
Well, I saw you. This guy over here, Skoaned, was on Maple Global. He was pushing to 70 with a fire poison, doing pew pew fire arrows. I don't even know how you did that, man. I tapped out at 45. You got to 70. Whoa.
I mean, there was like, I think there were 2 weeks where I was working full time, but also streaming 40 hours a week. And I was doing it by, I would go to work all day, come home, and then I would play for 4 hours, eat something light, sleep for 4 hours, wake up again, and then play for another 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. And
then go to work again. And then I would play like literally all day on the weekends.
Oh, man.
And it was around that time MG actually got DMCA'd, and I was pretty crushed. It was like, but it was definitely a wake up call that was like, man, this really isn't how I should be living my life.
Oh,
and
no.
I didn't even hit that high of a level, to be honest, compared to some other
Compared
people.
to some
And
people. I would definitely
already
say you got
my
a high
mental
level.
was like deteriorating. I definitely lost brain cells, IQ, and the rest.
Oh, my gosh.
And some people I've noticed, I'm not going to name any names, but when I first met them on MG, they seemed really mentally stable. And now progressively, after over a year of playing these really, really low rate, low version servers, they've started to go off the deep end a little bit. And I definitely think it's correlated.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was correlated. Hey, you know what, Cheetur? Do you have a take on that? Sounds like OSM from Skoaned's perspective will probably be around in some time, but it'll hover around like the 200, a little bit less than 200 player range. What do you think?
I don't know. I wasn't gonna be as toxic, but I don't see it lasting, dude. Honestly, like I just don't see it being around. I feel like if things go the way they've been going, it's gonna die super fast.
Do you think it's going to be because of the administration or
100%? If the server dies, well, the server's gonna die. Okay, let's get one thing straight about old school private servers. They won't last. The fact that Royals, because you guys said Royals is like the most popular server and stuff like that, and it is popular. But if you've actually played the server, you know what it really is. It's at least half the population is mules. Everybody mules. Almost everybody has at least 1 or 2 mule accounts. So their player base isn't really that high.
Sure.
Because the same thing was with Crusade. Like you had multiple people on multiple accounts, like farming points and stuff like that. So the player bases on these private servers aren't usually as high as they really look, especially if they allow multi-clienting. So I don't know. I just don't see OSM going anywhere if OSM staff doesn't change a lot of things. The whole way they're running the server is just so bad.
I mean, they definitely have the opportunity to change, right?
They do.
Always.
They still have a chance.
I feel like they do have a chance, but if they keep going at the rate they're going, they're just throwing away all their chances. They had a chance today. They've had multiple chances. It's only been 2 months, and they've made so many fuck ups in these 2 months that it's like scary to think about how many more they could make in a year. So if they're running and hiding from a podcast, they don't communicate with their community now. It's only been 2 months. This is the reason I quit though, because it's like I would be so scared to put a year, just a year. I talked to Purple. Well, I didn't talk to Purple, but Donnie talked to Purple, and Purple himself said that Zach would come out for a year to 2 years.
Oh shit!
Imagine not being able to kill Zakam for fucking a year to 2 years. And you're putting that much time into a server where the owners don't even want to communicate with you or give you any ETA on when stuff's coming out. They literally just don't communicate with you. I just don't see it'll have a small niche player base, but that's honestly where all the retards are. Like the people that come in and constantly defend the server owners despite being constantly shit on. And just literally they don't see that the server owners did anything wrong. They come in here and they're like, they released their job in 2 weeks. They completely forget about the lag. They forget about the content pushbacks, the failed compensation, all that stuff. And they're just like, it's all better. They released their job. So they'll have those people. Yeah. But I think that's probably like maybe 20 to like 40 people maximum. I don't think it's going to, if it keeps going the way it's going, I think that's their play race, 20 to 40 people.
I really do want to see the talk show. We were debating before airing the podcast. If there was some sort of ETA given on that, video or stream or whatever it may be, that there was a possibility in some sort of episode swap where we take a different topic and we sort of put that as like filler, and then we say we're just going to wait until they sort of come, give them a moment to sort of reply to the community like they said they would.
Yeah.
And then we could go from there and use that information, because they did have access to our document where we had all of our topics. So if they, use that as their sort of reply format and use that as sort of, something to go from, and then we could reply to that and we could try to have a discussion, whether they want to have a discussion with us live or not.
I think as far as their talk show goes, I mean, there's a reason they didn't come on here. They want to be able to control everything and control the information that's being released. I don't know who they would have on the talk show, if it would be a solo host, like one guy with a piece of paper, like, all right, this is what's coming up on OSM, and here's what the admins told me to tell you. I don't know how they're going to run it, and I don't want to speculate too much on it, but to answer the question that I posed to you guys, like, where might OSM be in a few months, 6 months, a year? I'm more in the boat with Cheetur right now. I don't think the server is going to end up being successful. And I've been wrong about this before. I quit Royals when there was only 30 people online. So what do I know, guys?
Yeah, you know nothing.
What I will say is he's 100% right as far as old school, low version, low rate gameplay. I mean, there is no end game. The difference between Royals and OSM is the content, obviously. There is no bossing on OSM, and there never will be. No legit bossing anyway. And if it does come, you say it comes like a year later, and nobody's going to be, I say this all the time, hitting their head against a wall, grinding endlessly with no end in sight. There's nothing to look forward to. There's nothing to have a goal set in mind for, other than the grind and trying to get to number one. And I think the players that are trying to achieve that, Cheetur being one of them, it's a very small group of people, and that might be their niche group that they're going to try and appeal to long term. I do think as long as they can bring in new players and keep advertising the server to bring in new players, that they'll at least have some people there. But I've seen the statistics. I mean, they said that less than 5% of people that joined Maple Global ended up getting to level 70. Less than 5% of people actually got to a point where they can be in the conversation about endgame, be in the conversation about third job. And that's a very small amount of people. If you're talking about 5% of the total player population, it's not going to be enough to keep the server up, at least in any sort of successful way. But we'll see how things go.
I mean, I think people often forget really how many hours it will take for you to actually be Zachem level. We're talking thousands of hours. We're talking easily over 2,000 hours of playing the game to actually just be prepared enough to even do Zachem.
Yeah.
And it's like it's something that a lot of people don't consider it, because the server is really not going to have those 2x coupons.
Right.
It's not going to, if it's following the GMS progression. I think CeeLo did some calculations on it, and he fully realized that, like, in between levels, 130 and 132, it would take literally like 100 hours or something to that effect.
Something
nuts. And it was something, I don't have exact numbers, and I wish I did or prepared something like that. But the amount of time it would realistically take you to do that with V39 content is just astronomically large.
Yeah.
And once people really start to figure that out,
it happens quicker than you think. I mean, Cheetur already figured it out. Shade of the Faded already figured it out. And those are just the people that have people with eyes on them. There's a lot of people that have gotten to, X level, level 50, level 60.